Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy.
Of mojo.
Yeah.
God.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's start there. Hey everyone, and welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 690. It is July 29th, 2021. My name is Nick Henderson, and joining me tonight is Brad Simons,
Hello.
Nolan Hedstrom,
How's it going, everybody?
and Christopher Davis.
Hello.
It's going to be a little bit of a different kind of show tonight. We have a few impressions to cover. We'll probably do some quick updates on some of the stuff we talked about last week. But we actually opened up questions to the community at large this week instead of limiting it strictly to Patreon supporters and Twitch supporters. We wanted to reach out to y'all just on a bigger scale and pull some questions in. So we're going to spend a lot of the show just kind of answering your questions. If you're watching us live, you can totally go submit questions still, all the way up until the point where when we start doing that.
Do it.
We'll answer as many as we can, I suppose, and then we'll wrap up with the 4-player minute like we always do. But like I said, we do want to cover a few impressions at the start. I do want to say I don't know if we're gonna have a show next week. We're kind of playing that by ear. I'm gonna be out of town. Crispy's out of town. Or I don't know if he's back next week. We'll see. But what I'm trying to say is it's up in the air. But we'll keep y'all posted on social media and in Discord and all that stuff per usual. I feel before we do impression, should I give people an update on my PC situation?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yes.
I know,
Nick, this is our podcast. You can do whatever you want.
That's true. It's kind of like how I'm not wearing pants right now.
Exactly.
I'm totally wearing pants. All right. Yeah. So Brad specifically thought this might be interesting to talk about in the show, so I didn't talk about it before. But yeah, I had a bit of an issue with my. I installed my new graphics card like a week ago, or a little over a week ago, I suppose. Was playing over the weekend, having a great time, and at some point I looked down, as I do sometimes, to admire the rainbow lighting on the
girth
GPU,
of it.
the girth, all that good stuff.
Thick.
And I noticed a red blinking light right above the PCIe cables, the inputs that come from the power supply, and set off some alarm bells in my head because a flashing red light doesn't usually indicate anything good. So I made the mistake maybe of asking the internet, and some people freaked out and said I should.
Wait. When you said you asked the internet, did you ask Jeeves?
No,
what does that mean? Was it a Yahoo answer?
Does SG
No,
still
it was
exist?
I went into Discord, okay? I went into our lovely Discord, and
Gotcha.
And not to disparage people in our community, people were trying to be genuinely helpful, but a lot of people, reacted very like, oh my god, power it down, don't turn it back on.
It still exists.
It's gonna explode. Maybe you should ask Jeeves, Chris Davis, while you have Jeeves pulled up, see if he knows the answer to my question. But point is, it became a thing that I was like kind of focused on and scared about because I finally got my hands on a 30 series GPU and this didn't seem good. Doing some research, it turned into like it's a voltage issue, whether it's not getting enough power or at some point it got like an uneven amount of power and the light just came on or whatever. But the point is, could not get the light to go out and couldn't find a definitive answer on it. So since I couldn't really get tech support to help me in a reasonable amount of time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go upgrade my power supply. See if that fixes the problem. Might as well.
You got like a higher voltage.
Yeah, I got 850. I was on.
Your initial assumption was that maybe not your PSU wasn't outputting enough voltage for this honker of a graphics card.
Right.
Yeah, because
And
these 30 series cards are really demanding.
right, but I got my hands on a chart today that they sent it to me from ASUS to like here's the power supply recommendations, and 750 is the recommended power supply for it. But I have an 850 now. Did not fix my problem. Then it turned into I'm gonna swap out all the cables, and then it turned into okay, now I can't get my PC to boot, and then it turned into oh my god, is my hard drive dead? And then Nolan was like, I'm gonna come over and look at that.
I'm
So
curious what killed the hard drive. I really am.
I have,
It's gotta that had to have been something actually
I mean,
destroyed by
I'm pretty
you fucking around with the PSU or whatever.
dude, I am the least experienced person here at manipulating the interior components of a PC. I was so proud of myself that I managed to install the graphics card itself.
Sure.
So, it very well could have been something I did with the hard drive, but the point is the hard drive is dead. So now I have a new hard drive, which means I had to reinstall everything, which is why I'm dealing with technical issues and whatnot tonight. But where I am today, I've had two people from ASUS technical support tell me, "Oh, the red flashing light on the GPU actually means it's working fine." And that's frustrating. But then as soon as I got off the phone with that guy, another guy from technical support called me and told me that
Don't listen to what they said. No, don't listen to what they said.
well, it's like they're
Those
not, it's like
tech
they're,
support guys died 10 years ago.
it's like they're not communicating effectively because like I got off the phone and then I got an email from technical support saying the red blinking light actually indicates it's not getting a consistent power voltage from the power supply. And you should consider,
Do they know about
this.
the 2 lights versus the 3 lights in the email?
Nobody seems to know the definitive answer on that.
That's
So
good.
but
Okay,
here's
when you called, did they say ASUS? ASUS?
yes, they said ASUS. They said
ASUS?
ASUS.
ASUS?
Yes.
Did you say, hi, is this ASUS? And they're like, no, it's ASUS.
They hang up on you.
I mean, not only did the people that I was talking to say it, but that's when I was on the automated phone call thing where I had to push the numbers, whatever. That's how they were saying it. So that is apparently
It's
how it goes.
pronounced ASUS.
Yeah. So that's where I am now. But you know what? I've been playing Death's Door. I even booted up Red Dead today. I have the GPU software installed. I'm keeping constant eye on like the temperatures and whatnot, and everything is fine. Everything is fucking fine.
Well, not your hard drive.
My hard drive's dead, but I got a new one, and I got my whole situation.
So, how much money did you spend in trying to fix a blinking light?
$220. And about 4 days worth of ripping my hair out and my room just being, no one can attest, there was like shit everywhere in my room. It was just cables everywhere and screws and just it was a mess. But it's all good now. The light's still blinking though. The light's blinking right now. I'm looking right at it. You can go into the GPU software and there's a toggle that like just says turn off the voltage detector. And I click that and it goes away. But that's kind of like, hey, do you want to ignore it?
It's in your brain now. You can't ignore it. You're always going to be thinking about it.
There are so many people online in forums that were like, I can't figure this out. Nothing is wrong. Everything is fine. I'm just going to turn it off.
For the rest of your life, you're going to wince every time you turn on your computer.
Maybe. I mean, I asked the guys point blank today. I was like, look, these cards are not easy to get a hold of. If it comes to it, can I replace it? Is that even an option? And he was like, it's a last resort. And I was like, so it can be done. It can be done, but it's a last resort.
If it's within your warranty.
I didn't even know if it was.
Well, I mean, it's days old card. It's definitely still within his warranty.
It's under warranty until 2024. So there's that. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to give a quick update because that's kind of why I haven't really been playing a lot this week.
So what? But you said you were able to save your Call of Pripyat save. What else?
I got my Call of Pripyat save.
That's all Chris Davis cares about.
I got my Death's Door.
We got a recording coming up.
I got my Call of Pripyat save and I got my Red Dead save. Although I did get locked out of my Red Dead account because my two-factor authentication app that I used to use for it was on my old phone. It didn't carry over my new one, and I could not get back into the app. So I had to go through Rockstar tech support to have them remove two-factor authentication from my account. But you know what? I'm in.
Remember that
golden.
time Jack came over to like install Tomb Raider onto your PC and it was
How
never
could I
the
forget?
same again? And you were like, "Curse Jack!" And then you built a new PC with all new components, and and you were having the same issue, and you were like, "Jack, what did you do?"
Hey man,
Yeah.
I have the worst luck with computers. I knew something was wrong when I
You
managed
don't
to
have
put
the
that.
worst luck. You're fine. What about the time Crispy tried to swap out a graphics card and he destroyed his PC? At least you didn't do that.
Did that happen?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, I guess. But like
He
I
also
knew.
had his PC broken for like 8 months, and he had a graphics card to fix the issue for 6 months of that 8 months.
Well, hey, I wasn't going to get into those kind of details, but
Hey, I knew something was wrong when I managed to get that GPU installed all by myself, and then everything went smoothly, and then I was playing games. I was like, "Oh my god, I did this! I installed this thing. I'm a PC gamer now." and then my world kind of fell apart. So, you know what? If I had just ignored that little voice in the back of my head on Sunday that said something's wrong, I'd still be living blissfully ignorant. And you know what? But here we are. So,
that conversation we were having earlier, we don't have to get into the details, but about the $600 laptop or whatever.
yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this. Can you stream from a Steam Deck?
That's a
Don't
good
Or
think so.
question.
not stream. Not stream. Can you Discord from a Steam Deck?
I mean, it's a PC.
I
That's
don't know
what.
the answer
That's
to that.
Theoretically, you can install Windows and do Discord. Yes.
Huh.
theoretically.
Interesting.
Don't think you're gonna justify getting a Steam Deck so you can record the podcast on a fucking Steam Deck.
Well, it's a
I will
PC.
not allow it, Brad. I will not allow it.
I'm okay with it.
It's a PC.
If you can do it with good enough audio, you can do whatever the fuck you want. That's
I mean,
all I care
you could
about.
plug this mic into it all the same.
Anyways, let's get into it. Chris Davis, let's start with you. You've sunk what 100 more hours into Ancestors: A Humankind Odyssey. I want to see some fucking footage because we didn't have any last week.
Okay.
I want to see
I've
what this
been
game
waiting for.
is. I want to see what this game is.
How many more hominid ass cheeks have you clapped?
There was a lot of baby making. Let me put it that way.
What?
Because that's one of the aspects of advancing the species is you got to make babies.
That is how it works. Believe it or not.
Okay.
So seriously,
Here we go.
How much of this have you played? Because last week you shocked me when you were like, oh, "I've played about 23 hours of Ancestors."
Almost as
About
shocking as
35
him.
million years.
Almost as shocking as him bringing it up again on another podcast, which isn't so much to say anything about this game or Chris Davis, but more like what's going on with this year. The fact that none of the rest of us don't have anything to talk about.
Hey,
I've played plenty of games, Brad. It's just games we've already talked about and aren't as weird as this game.
Yeah,
and
that's
you know
true.
what?
Me too.
You know what? Somebody's got to talk about it. This is a weird game. It
is a weird ass game. So my Steam profile says I put like 42 hours into it. The in-game clock says about 25 hours. I'm pretty certain it's somewhere in between. I did have that 9 or 10 hour playthrough, the Chronicles of the Death Baby, my first playthrough, which I just abandoned and completely restarted the game.
And you're not having that issue any longer.
No, I figured I actually learned more of the mechanics and actually progressed.
Okay.
But oh man, that was a tumultuous 5-hour experience of desperately trying to find some other hominid to mate with. Oh, it's like real life. But anyway.
Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Okay, let me re-pitch this game to you.
Oh god.
Has
the pitch changed since last week?
It's changed a little. Okay.
Okay.
This is Patrice Désilets, the creator of Assassin's Creed.
Right. He left Assassin's Creed. He left Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed series to make
back in 2014 after 3 had come out, and I think Black Flag was his last project that he helped with. He went off and he created a company with a bunch of other Ubisoft developers called Panache. And this has been their first project, and it came out last year officially.
Wait, no, last year? I thought it was like 2 years old at this point.
No, it went into early access, right? And then we officially released 1.0 last year.
Oh, okay.
This is a quote unquote episodic experience in which you are going through 8 million years of human history, from 10 million years ago down to 2 million
and 40
in
hours.
The past, experiencing a gameplay perspective of the journey of our species, or the creation of our species over time through evolution.
Right. Yes.
8 million years. That's crazy. What if they had like a modern day game where you completely destroy the planet in 100 years?
Man,
it's called a textbook, Brad.
Yeah.
De-evolution. Make the sequel.
All right, go
ahead. Here's that's a sidebar. Patrice Désilets is talking about this being the first entry in a trilogy.
Okay.
So what the fuck that means, I have no idea.
At some point during this
conversation, will not be a trilogy. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. No, the narrator says it was not to be a trilogy.
It was not to be.
I was going to ask at some point during this conversation, I was going to ask, this game was kind of a failure, right? Like,
yes.
Critically, it has not done well.
What do you mean, kind of?
Because this is the first I've heard anybody talk about it at all.
It's gotten a lot of average reviews. I don't think it sold particularly well. But then again, I don't think it had a decent marketing campaign behind it, so I think people just kind of forgot that it existed.
Well, they didn't have the Ubisoft money.
No, they didn't have the Ubisoft money.
And
although I will say, from looking at the production value, this does feel like a near AAA experience that they were trying to go for.
Here's the thing. They have, he leaves Ubisoft, right? And he's like, I'm the guy that made Assassin's Creed. The problem is, I feel like kind of the target audience, or like the fan base of Assassin's Creed. This is not to be disparaging against fans of Assassin's Creed, of which I am one. But I feel like a lot of people who are in Assassin's Creed, may not really know the names of the people who created it, or be particularly, I just don't see a lot of people following.
Nick, it sounds to me like you're describing the average gamer.
Yeah, maybe.
Pretty sure most average gamer probably don't know too much about the development. They just know, I like Assassin's Creed, or I like Call of Duty.
I think the bigger problem, though, even if those people who do follow him to see what he does next, I don't feel like there's a lot of overlap between the people who are going to follow him from Ubisoft, from Assassin's Creed games, are not. I don't feel like they're necessarily going to be in. This is like a kind of a hardcore survival game, right? I mean,
it very much is, yes.
I don't see the average, Assassin's Creed fan looking at this and being like, this is my jam. I mean, I don't see many people obviously saying that. I mean, this is a hard sell, I think, for anybody.
So let me describe to you what this game is. Okay. So there is no narrative to the game. There's no voice work at all. There's nothing that narratively structures everything together, really. It's you going through this gameplay loop of experiencing life as a hominid, experiencing events that happen on the map as you progress that can randomly happen, learning how to use the mechanics, and then going through this 3-tiered loop of evolution. The first tier is providing stimulation to neurons in your brain so that you can learn new actions and figure out new abilities that you can do.
Which is basically a skill tree. But
I mean, just we're not even talking about I figured out how to, craft a wall out of twigs and stuff. No, this is figuring out, I can move an item into my other hand. I can pick up an item and inspect it. Oh, this is something I can eat. It's very basic actions that you're doing here.
Chris Davis, hold on. You said it's basic action. You said it's basic actions, but did that hominid just hit the woe?
Hit the woe?
Kind of look like they did. Oh, you fucking old white men! Jesus Christ!
I was gonna say, Wait, I don't get it either. No, I'm sorry. We just
listeners do.
We just outed ourselves.
He means he got crunk.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so yeah, there's a.
Is there?
There is a system. There are systems for everything in this game, and one of the system is for eating and drinking food, and you can sometimes get poisoned, or you can have things like that happen to you, so it affects your vision.
A quick question: when you as a hominid die at any point, is that just like that character's dead, and then you start a new?
That character is dead, and you are transferred to the next closest hominid in your clan.
Okay.
Whether that's a child that you have on your back as you're wandering through the map, or whether that's a hominid that's way back at your clan's little settlement.
Gotcha. So when is there an actual transfer of or a passage of time, if you will? Like,
okay, so that's what I was getting into with the evolution thing. The first tier is the neurons and learning ideas and figuring out how to do things, basic concepts. The second step of that is passing generations. So you at a certain point, you get two hominids together, they mate, and then you pass the generation along. When you pass the generation along,
play as the baby?
Well, you can play as the baby, but let me get to that. So when you pass a generation along, but right before you do that, you can go into your map of neurons in your brain and select ones to just lock down and permanently have access to. And then you pass a generation along, and the baby ages 15 years. Everyone ages 15 years. The adults become elders. The babies become adults. And you just repeat that cycle over and over again.
Gotcha.
So there is kind of like a roguelike element to it that's kind of interesting. Because when you pass a generation, any of those neurons that you didn't lock down, you lose. So you have to relearn all that stuff.
Okay. I really like the core idea at the base of this game.
It's got some cool ideas. So tier 3.
I'm not gonna lie, Nick. Your continued fascination is almost as odd as Chris Davis choosing to play this game right now.
Okay, so tier 3 of the evolutionary process is actually called evolution. So when you're going through the map, random things can happen. You can encounter a new clan member and you can bring them back to your tribe. You can figure out how to dodge or attack an enemy. Or you might just encounter a new animal for the first time. And based on how many times you do it, there'll be evolutionary feats that you get credit for. So you'll find finding a landmark on the map will be an evolutionary feat. And in the evolution mode, when you go to transition time, it counts each of those events and things that happen as like blocks of time. So, for example, you go and you find an oasis part of the map. Congratulations, you've unlocked that feat. It advances time 24,000 years. And based on how far in advance of a unmarked, player undeterminable marker in the background of the game, you may get some bonus time added on. So you get an extra 5,000 years on top of that, 10,000, something like that.
Well, hold on, Chris Davis. How can it advance the 24,000 years when the Earth is only 2,000 years old?
Well,
I get it. I get it.
I don't know what to say to that creationist aspect there, other than, oh boy. So you repeat this 3-tiered loop of evolution, neuron to generation to evolution, several times across the course of the game. Usually, if you save them up, you can go an entire evolutionary cycle and get to the next species without having to repeat the cycle again, just to get to that. Gotcha. But I did have to do that mid game.
So, I guess the only question the question I have for you now is, you've obviously invested quite a bit of time in this. And
yes.
You gonna see it through to the end?
I saw it through the end. I have rolled credits on this game.
Wait, you've seen the end of time?
I have seen the dawn of Homo ergaster, which is one of the species.
Homo what?
Homo ergaster.
I
don't exactly know how to pronounce it.
Nolan's like, I can see the gears in Nolan's head working.
It's the final evolutionary step in the game. You don't actually play as it; it just appears in the cinema. But it's like it's almost Cro-Magnon basically in the span of time.
I feel like Chris Davis has a lot. I don't know any of these names you bring up, but hey,
this stuff is fucking fascinating.
It's a learning experience.
Okay, so I really would be remiss if I didn't talk about like the map and exploring things, because I think that's probably the best part of this game.
Don't say this, Chris Davis. You're gonna make me want to play it.
Okay.
I like big maps.
Well, Nick, this is a very, very big map, and there's no fast travel. Zero fast travel.
That's my jam.
And the map is surprisingly detailed, especially since there is no mini map. There's nothing to tell you. So again, with the function of like learning concepts and remembering things, you have your senses that you rely on. You have hearing, you have smelling, and you have your intelligence. So when you're scanning the environment, you're using your senses to detect things in the environment and using your intelligence to remember things. So
like my actual human intelligence, or are you saying intelligence as a mechanic?
Well, intelligence as a mechanic as part of these species. Because as you progress, the species, their brains get bigger. So they can remember new things. They can unlock new abilities. They can figure out things easier. And so when you're going through the map, if you activate your intelligence, the only hint one of the very few in-game hints the game provides you is you will see off in the distance a diamond shape with a question mark on it. That's a landmark. You don't know what's there. You don't know how to get there. All you know is just go forward to find it.
That's the carrot. People in chat right now are yelling Red Dead 2 with monkeys, and I'm here for it.
I mean,
I'm just kidding. I know that's not what this is. I know.
No, it's not.
But there's a certain amount of that element that I'm into.
But when you figure out this like gameplay loop and you actually start to learn the mechanics, there's some really cool ideas that they throw at you. Like it wasn't until like 7 to 8 hours into the game, which I actually figured out the dodge mechanic. It wasn't until like 30 hours into the game in which I actually figured out how to counterattack enemies. Like there is no offensive combat in this game. The only way for you to actually kill something is for you to have a weapon like a rock or a sharpened stick, and you have to go into this really quick QTE moment in which they're lunging to attack you and you counterattack them. And even then,
you know what you did?
And then a counterattack, like it's not an instant kill except in like very small species. So like maybe a snake it'll work on, but like for like a warthog or like even like a fucking elephant or a rhino, like it's gonna take like 4 or 5 sharpened sticks to actually kill it. And it's that moment of when you get that first kill, you almost get like a mini Dark Souls like head rush of I just beat that boss. That feels pretty good.
This is it. Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey is the game that opens Chris Davis's eyes to the beauty of Dark Souls.
No, that's never going to happen. But I think just like everything that you can do in this game, I think there's a smart idea behind it. Like there is crafting in this game, okay? But it doesn't tell you how to do anything. So you got to figure out on your own. So you had to constantly experiment with things. So to figure out how to strip a dead stick into a pointed stick, like you gotta just like mess with buttons. So, for example, to strip a stick, you grab a branch and you hold down a button to go into an alter state, and then there will be a prompt, like a visual prompt on screen, not necessarily a button press, but like a flash of green on the screen with a sound effect, and then you release that button to have the ape stroke its hand along the stick to strip off all the branches and stuff.
Slower.
Brad, resist the urge, Brad.
I know you want to, Brad, but calm down, Killer. Calm down.
I was like, the moment Chris Davis started talking about sticks and stroking, I was like, Brad is not going to be able to stop himself.
But what you could also do is, instead of that, you could have that stick and you could get a rock. And then depending on the type of rock, you can go through this motion of snapping the twigs off the branch and then sharpening it further into a sharpened stick. And it's just like, it's all these different like button mechanics and experimentation for figuring out how to do things that I think is just so interesting about this.
It's certainly interesting. I can certainly see why it would turn off some people, though. But like, you know what, the thing that's capturing my attention, or the thing that sounds most interesting to me is the experimentation. It's like because I've recently started getting more into survival games, and this definitely seems like it might scratch that itch in some weird way.
And you want to know another thing that's really gonna scratch that itch, Nick? This game thinks of Assassin's Creed's verticality and just fucking goes with it. You see a tree or a cliff, you can fucking climb it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into that. That.
And again,
can I leap off the top into a hay bale? Because that would be...
Well, there are no hay bales, but you can fall a very substantial height and just be fine. But you can also find plants in the environment that will give you like reinforcement to your health, so you can survive those falls that would otherwise injure or kill you. Yeah. And like it just happened in the footage, I jumped off a cliff and I was able to cling onto the cliff and slow down and climb down further.
Oh, that was actually pretty cool.
Like there is a lot of cool verticality in this game.
All right. All right. I'm not gonna play this right now, but mark my words.
I'm not saying go out and just buy this immediately, but I am saying this is something you want to get on a Steam sale. This is something you want to, if you have some free time and you want to try something that's just kind of fucking out there. This is a good time.
I'm watching you scale this like sheer rock wall, and like it's making me think about like as kind of like later years, or I guess now it's kind of like middle years, like classic Assassin's Creed, but when they really started to finally hone in like the fluidity of the climbing.
And here's really another thing right on screen with something that's, I think, particularly interesting. As you're because you're an animal, okay? And as you expand out into the world, like you'll get to sections of the map.
Elephant graveyard. You were only supposed to go where the sun touches the grass.
Well, no. So when you go out in the map, you get a certain distance from your settlement, your home. You become afraid of your surroundings. You're in an unknown area. You don't know anything around you, so your hominy gets afraid. So what you have to do you have to conquer that fear. So you have to use your brain and your senses to scan the environment, recognize things like, oh, that's a berry bush. Oh, that's a beehive.
I know this.
And slowly you build up this immunity to that fear. And then you get to the very end of that, you have filled up your meter and you can conquer your fear. And in doing so, you've expanded the range of your clan. So you can travel further.
Okay.
Like there's so many cool ideas with this game. I wish there was a narrative to structure everything together. I wish there was like a real tangible feeling of a reward beyond the gameplay for
Don't
what
take this the wrong way, Chris Davis. Don't take this the wrong way, Chris Davis. But I feel like you're coming up against the same wall that you hit with Dark Souls, but for a different reason, and it's equally as misguided. Because
no, I'm not asking for like an overall narrative structure to where you get to 2 million years BC and your ape goat or your creature goes around the corner and all of a sudden there's a fucking black monolith, or something like that. This game is completely this game is completely focused on like the science aspect of what it could have been at the time and experiencing all this stuff. So there is no structure, but I'm at the same time going through this experience. I kind of want like that kind of like BBC Earth kind of like documentary thing. Like I want like a narrator to kind of like every now and then pop up and say, "Oh, at this point in time in history, this species would have done this."
So you want to play the like the Assassin's Creed like history modes, but for this game.
Kind of more like as if take the narrator from Biomutant, but cut out all the humor and just make it like a documentary narrative focus. And again, I'm not asking for a whole lot. I'm just asking for it to happen like every couple hours. Give me like a couple sentences, something like that.
But again, I can see where you're coming from, but I can also see totally from the development side of things, like conceptually, the appeal of wanting this to be completely just like the story is literally the moment to moment experience of like without any outside involvement or any outside influence, just like this is what happened.
And that
there's an appeal to that.
Hold on. So
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so when your hominid eats a piece of fruit and the seed falls on the ground, when their child is born, does that fruit become a tree?
It doesn't, Peter Molyneux. No, unfortunately.
Yeah, I bet to say that sounds like some Peter Molyneux shit.
They kind of missed their opportunity. What were they going for here?
You think they had infinite money, Nolan? They didn't have Ubisoft money.
That's one of the very few like disappointing aspects of this game is that this map is fucking huge. And the things that you've learned and you've locked down go down to the generations and the evolutionary species, but the map doesn't really change.
It'd be cool to see the passage of time reflected in the map too. All right,
yeah, because you're going through 8 million years of history. The map is theoretically should change, but it doesn't.
That's going to happen in the sequel. All right, we need to move on. I'm going to tell you what, Chris Davis. I'm adding this game to my wish list tonight. And if it ever drops...
drops to 10 cents.
The conversation doesn't have to conclude with that, Nick. You could just say...
No. I'm legitimately interested. I am legitimately interested in playing this game. There's a lot of things that were talked about tonight that sound like my jam. Do you know what?
There are just so many.
I'll know
cool
the magic number when it hits it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying be willing to spend $20 in this game. At least throw them a bone that way. I think
maybe 15.
I don't know. I think they put a lot of effort into this. I think they deserve a little better than they got.
So don't spend a thing.
Is it on Game Pass? Somebody in chat look it up, see if it's on Game Pass. All right, real quick before we get to questions, I want to just see if anybody here has updates or quick mentions they want to make. Brad, you have anything you want to? I know you.
Well, I mean, what do you want to know, man? You want to know kind of.
What have you been playing?
Kind of want to know what's been shaken, or
I mean,
spell ancestors.
ANCESTOR.
Aren't you a history major, by the way?
What does that have to do with it?
Shouldn't you know like how to spell ancestors?
He was a history major, not a spelling major.
I majored in spelling major.
Clearly.
Yeah. What's shaking, Brad? What have you been playing?
The reason I guess I don't have shit to talk about tonight is because I kind of just been playing stuff that I've already talked about on the podcast. I tried to get back into Final Fantasy 14. That's been horrible, but I did pick up a new class. I started playing as the Red Mage. The Red Mage is a lot simpler of a class than the Summoner.
On the Final Fantasy 14 note, I remember how I was always saying, like, when people would try and convince me to play Final Fantasy 14, I'd be like, well, I'll tell you what, it's still installed on my computer. Okay. It's no longer installed on my computer. So maybe I dodged that bullet.
Well, yeah. I don't know. It's been pretty dreadful. Still pre-Heaven's Ward, so I just did a quest where I had to talk to 5 people in one city in different parts of the city, and then go to another city and talk to 5 people in this city in different parts of the city, and then go to another city and do it again. It's just dreadful. You're just going to waypoints and clicking on people, and it's awful. But it's going to get good soon. People tell me, so keep plugging away. I've also
Do people tell
I,
you?
I haven't just been playing Final Fantasy 15. I've also been watching Jersey Shore along with it. Would you like to know about Jersey Shore? No, no.
I mean,
Not
here's
just
here's
Jersey Shore,
No.
Jersey Shore Family Vacation, which
Brad.
I
If
guess
I
is
if
a
I let you
spinoff
talk about
series.
Jersey Shore, you're gonna let me talk about Dexter?
I mean, you're going to talk about Dexter anyways, Nick. But
You're right. You're right.
yeah, no, yeah, because
The
it's
system's
it's a
rigged.
game I play while I watch bad television, and I had to find something pretty bad that I didn't have to really pay attention to, but then started to get absorbed into anyways. You know
Oh
how it is.
God.
Well, of
Ronnie's dealing
course.
with a lot of stuff.
I'm
Anyways,
sure.
Good old Ronnie.
other than that, just more stories too. I started a little bit of that Bowser's Fury, but I didn't really play enough of it to really talk much on it. So yeah,
Cool.
kind of
Nolan,
taking it slow.
you have any updates? I know you said you've been
Let's
kind of
see.
haven't had a ton to play this week.
Yeah, no. So I spent a lot of time on this PC Builder game. Oh wait, no, I was at Nick's house.
Ah,
Um, playing more Skyward Sword. I got a little bit farther past the Toe Monster. I fought the Toe Monster for what I hear is the first time.
yep.
Um,
You know what? That
defeated
toe monster,
him.
not so bad without having to use motion controls.
I
It
can
was actually
imagine.
pretty manageable without the motion. I feel
Uh,
like maybe a lot of my frustration the first time was just having to,
Do it
you
5
know,
times, 6
yeah.
times. Yeah.
yeah. Playing some of that. Obviously, just playing some more Call of Duty. I still play that. Playing some Mini Motorways.
Oh.
I talked about that a while back, but they released it on PC. Mini Motorways was the game that originally came out on Apple Arcade. The one where you have like you build roads between like
Mhm.
houses
Right.
and stores or whatever. So playing that.
That'd be a good Steam Deck game.
Oh, dude, that'd be great for Steam Deck, definitely. But yeah. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's been a
Cool.
light week for games.
Yeah, and I've been out of commission more or less for the. It's one of those situations where I was like, I'm not playing my PC right now, obviously, but like maybe I should start up something on my on console. But I'm like, I'm literally, I have so many games started. I want to finish something before I start playing 13 Sentinels or whatever the fuck. So, uh, as of today, I have 100% confirmed that I have all my save. I didn't lose any save data that I cared about. So I've been playing more Death's Door. I'm like 8 hours into Death's Door.
Yeah, I'm surprised y'all didn't like wrap that up or.
Well, I totally would have been finished with it. I totally would have
Yeah,
finished it over the
okay,
weekend.
fair enough. What
Um,
about you, Nolan?
I honestly haven't played a whole lot more of it. Just
Mm,
timing has not
mm.
been on my side.
Still kind of curious about that one, but
I
not
am
enough to.
almost to the end of the second. As far as I know, there's like 3 major dungeons in the game, and I'm almost to the end of the second one. So I don't know. It seems to me like it's going to end up being like a 10 to 12 hour game at the end of the day. It continues to be kind of a delight. But I don't have a lot of new stuff to like to shine a light on since last week, but it continues to be pretty damn charming. I
Yeah.
will say this, surprisingly challenging. And I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm finding the quote unquote like the heart pieces that give you boosted vitality and whatnot. I'm finding them very slowly, and I don't know if it's because I'm like not particularly good at exploring, or if
There's
they're
just not
just
a
really
lot of them.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I still am rolling with the same 4 hearts, quote unquote, that I was at the beginning of the game, and every time you take a hit, you lose an entire heart. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
you can only take 4 hits and you're dead. And some of
Yep.
those, like the dungeon that I'm in right now, is just kind of like a combat like gauntlet. I mean,
And it's kind of to reiterate what I brought up last week. It's the whole like enemies don't stand on the sidelines and wait.
yeah,
They
you are
don't queue up
managing.
and wait for you. They will come at you, and if they come in as soon as you're coming out of your invincibility post hit, they'll hit you again. So you
It's a
can
Right.
get
lot of
hit
coming.
pretty quick if the timing is right.
one thing I do kind of like, and it seems like it's been this way with both of the dungeons that I've done so far, but the dungeons are kind of split into two parts. It seems like you do the first half and it's very puzzle heavy, and then when you kind of cross a threshold and you enter like the second half of the dungeon, and it's like much more frenetic, and there's a lot more enemies, and it's a lot more combat focused. So you're kind of running around solving puzzles while also dealing with like lots of enemies, and that's where it starts to ramp up in difficulty. So I'm consistently, for a game that's so charming and kind of chill, I'm consistently surprised by how challenging it actually is, but not like in a frustrating way. So I don't know. It kind of sits there in this like nice kind of sweet spot. So I'm still digging it quite a bit. But yeah, I will definitely finish that before I'm on a podcast again. So,
hey Nick.
Yep.
Ancestors is $16 on Steam right now.
Ooh, that's approaching the sweet spot, Chris Davis. It's approaching the sweet spot.
That's 60% off.
Oh fuck! I already bought a game today. Don't make me do it.
Oh come on! You get paid tomorrow, right?
I got paid today. That's why I bought a game.
There you go.
All right. What else? Nolan kind of covered it with Skyward Sword. I'm kind of past the first 3 dungeons, which kind of feels like the first 3 dungeons in Ocarina of Time. But the difference here is that like I don't remember anything past this point. I played the game for 50 hours. I beat it. I don't remember how it continues to feel like fresh and new. But like it's a Zelda game. There's gonna be surprises and whatnot. I mean, I know I've played this game before, but man, I do not remember, because I've kind of been to all the major like areas below the clouds, so I'm just trying to remember what all's down there that I'm
you go back.
I know, but like you go back and you access different areas that you didn't see before. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still enjoying it. It's nice. I'm gonna play more of it on my trip. So, all right. But like I said at the start of the show, we want to make this episode kind of questions heavy. So, I know Brad, you put the call out for questions on Twitter. I put a form out there on Twitter and in Discord or whatnot for people to submit questions. Usually, this is kind of relegated to Patreon and Twitch supporters, but this week we kind of opened it up to everybody. Maybe we'll do this more often if it goes well. But let's see what happens. Brad, do you want to maybe start off with some Twitter questions?
Sure.
Yeah. Any good ones? Any good ones in
Cool Chrono in chat. Cool Chrono says, "How are you guys doing? Hope everything's well, except Nick's PC." Guess that's not really a question outside of how y'all doing, but I mean, y'all can answer that question.
Doing all right.
Living the dream.
I'm kind of excited and nervous about going on a trip next week. We're driving, which I'm excited about, but I was more excited than nervous back when we made the plans to go on this trip.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Are you going to share where you're going?
We're driving to Pennsylvania, and we're going to be staying with some of Robin's family. It was supposed to be. We were supposed to do this over a year ago. It was like her family was having kind of a little family reunion, and they pushed it back, obviously. And when we made the plans, we agreed to do this. It was like a couple months ago, and COVID cases were way down, and now it's like, I'm a little nervous. But I'm vaccinated. I'm gonna take precautions. And I'm going to hope for the best. But I'm looking forward to being on the road.
I have another quick Twitter question.
Did you answer the question?
Yeah, I said I'm doing fine.
Oh,
the answer is how you doing.
Great answer.
I'm nervous about an upcoming life event.
Gotcha.
Mecca in chat asks, "Why won't you fall in love with Shin Megami Tensei?" That might have been directed specifically at me, but I guess none of us here have like truly fallen in love with Shin Megami Tensei. I don't think any of us here have finished any Shin Megami Tensei games. While we meant well.
I'm in love with the concept of Persona specifically. I don't feel like there's much outside of Persona.
Okay, there's a new Shin Megami Tensei game coming out for the Switch this year.
I know, but there's just something so appealing to me about Persona, and I want I even put Persona 5 in my top 10 that year, even though I only played like 25 hours of it, and God knows, did not even come anywhere near finishing that game. But I loved those 25 hours that I played. I like games like the social aspects like that, and kind of. But I don't know. Is there anything like Persona in the Shin Megami Tensei series, or is Persona pretty?
Yeah, how about Shin Megami Tensei? Here,
Are they?
it's funny you asked that
Yeah.
because the reason I bounce off this series is because there's so many spin-offs. Persona is also a spin-off of the core Shin Megami Tensei series, but pretty much all of them share the same core components, right? Right. There's always the same like demons that you summon. Like there's the fusion system, the combat system is very weakness based. You're casting Zio and Bufu and stuff, and like every single one of them. And I don't like those systems. And if you don't like those systems, it's really easy to bounce off of like the half or dozen probably Shin Megami Tensei games I've tried.
Right.
But that's kind of what I wanted to bring up, Brad, because I did actually see this question earlier today that I feel similarly to Shin Megami Tensei as I do like Pokemon. It's like, yeah, the first few were unique, but then the rest of them, it's just the same stuff over and over with the smallest tweaks. And it just gets old fast, is the honest answer.
I'm the kind of person, I think, like, I don't know if I would ever consider myself a Shin Megami Tensei fan, but I do want, like, I feel like my video game bucket list probably has finishing a Persona game on it. I don't care which one, either 4 or 5.
Didn't you get
probably
close with 4?
I played like 30 hours of 4, and then
5
Jack
was the one
and
we
then
were supposed to all finish.
and then Jack came over and installed Tomb Raider on my PC, and everything went to everything went to hell, and I lost that save and all that shit. But you know what? Somebody in chat just made a really good point. They were like, "Oh man, Persona 4 Golden on Steam Deck, baby," and I'm like, that's not a bad point. That is not a bad point.
Yeah.
I might make that a priority when I get a Steam.
What about you, Chris Davis?
I have never played a Shin Megami Tensei game.
Fair enough.
Seems like
Fair enough.
But Blue Reflection, that's top of your list.
That
I'm
is
surprised
something else.
you have not tried Persona. You seem like the kind of guy who
Wasn't
would try
there a
Persona.
Blue Reflection announcement today?
Yeah, they announced the sequel's coming out in the West.
And you're gonna play that, aren't you?
I didn't finish the first game. I doubt I'll play a second.
That's not disparaging. You let your freak flag fly, Chris Davis.
Whoa, easy, buddy. We have anime fans watching.
I mean, just the gameplay from Reflection. I think that the boss battles were cool, and I thought the combat system was kind of interesting. I just think like everything else about this game, they didn't flesh out.
Sure,
Fair
but
enough.
that's besides the question. What else we got?
Do you want to bounce back and forth between Twitter questions and my questions?
We can. I mean, their questions are questions. It doesn't matter. I'm looking up the next one from Frolic Crow on Twitter. Do you have any favorite horror movies?
Of course, fucking course.
Well, give me a couple of faves.
I am quite partial. Recently, I'm quite partial to Hereditary. I still think, and I may be alone on this, or not alone, but I still think I have never been more scared in a movie theater than I was watching the original Paranormal Activity. That movie scared the fucking shit out of me. And Paranormal Activity 2, specifically the scene in the kitchen where there's like 5 minutes of like silence with the girl, with the mom like drinking coffee at the counter, and then all of a sudden like all the drawers in the kitchen comes slamming open at the same time, and it's like super loud. I literally almost jumped over the back of my seat into the person behind me. Like, that shit freaked me out. So I am partial to those movies, even though they've gotten kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. As someone who's seen most of those, including Paranormal Activity in the Hood, whichever that one was.
I saw that. Also, I do like. I have always been partial to some slasher films, like, but the original Scream.
Some.
Well, yeah. I mean, I am way more into like the entire Scream franchise than I have ever been into like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. I've always been partial to Halloween, even though I fully acknowledge that there's only like maybe two good movies. Although, to be honest,
I'm not going to bring up the fact that you gave Halloween 3.5 stars on your letterbox, but
I mean, I am also of the probably controversial opinion that while I do recognize that the first Halloween is very influential, I feel very much. Okay, I'm gonna get so much shit for saying this. It's very much the same way I feel about Star Wars: A New Hope, where it's great. It's a great film, but it is kind of dulled.
No.
It's kind
Does
of dulled.
Anybody else? As far as me, I mean, I like and love a lot of horror movies, and I've not even thought about what my favorite might be. But as far as the stuff that truly scares me, you might know if you've seen me play a horror game. But anything with like ghosts in it, especially if the story takes place in a house, really fuck me up. Really fuck me up. As far as my theater experience that scared me the most, it's got to be like The Ring. First time I saw that in a theater,
I would put The Ring on my list.
Night, that really fucked me up.
I put The Ring on my list. That did fuck me up in theaters too, and it's still a scary movie. But like, just as far as like atmosphere and vibe goes, the Ring is incredible. In fact, I want to rewatch that soon.
I really like The Shining and The Thing as well.
Oh, yeah, The Thing is an incredible film.
I watched The Thing for the first time
John Carpenter.
like 6 months ago.
Really?
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, John Carpenter, the remake of The Thing, I guess, if you will. But yeah, the one that people like the most.
I keep forgetting there's 2 remakes of The Thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a remake and there's a prequel to the remake.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm not super into horror movies, but if I had to pick some of the few I am into, would you call Get Out like a horror movie?
Yeah, sure, yeah, for sure.
Would you call Cabin in the Woods a horror movie?
Sure, those are both great movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing as me saying, do you consider Scream a horror movie? Because I don't find it particularly scary, but it definitely has horror elements to it.
I was a fan of Midsommar.
Yeah,
me too.
Dude,
I like that way more than I liked Hereditary.
So I am slowly becoming a big fan. I mean, maybe just because I haven't had a lot of exposure to it, but like folk horror in general is really kind of my jam. That's why I was really into Mundan. That's why I liked Midsommar. But somebody posted a link in chat in Discord the other day to a preview for a new movie coming out called Lamb. And it's another. I think it's from the same production company that does Hereditary and Midsommar. I think, right? Isn't that A24? I can't remember what it was, but
I believe it's pronounced Etouffee.
It's very much in this kind of the same vein as those movies, where it's like kind of takes place out in the sun and it has this really weird concept to it, but it has this like really eerie undertone to it, and I fucking love that shit. Also, before we move on, I want to mention I am actually quite fond of the core Conjuring movies, like Conjuring 1, 2, and now 3, I suppose. Like a lot of the spin-offs, not really into, but like just the core movies, I find them to be incredibly effective. I've rewatched all 3 of those, or the first 2 right before the third one came out recently, and I genuinely like all 3 of those movies.
Your highest rated horror movie on Letterboxd is Hereditary.
Yeah, dude, Hereditary is easily one of the it's up there for me for sure.
I do watch horror movies all the time, and I feel like I'd name some like pretty obvious classics. So if you're curious about some of my favorite horror jimmies, hit me up after the show or whatever.
Or in Discord, baby.
Or in Discord.
Discord.gg/4Player, where you can we can start threads now in Discord or something.
I'm just trying to figure it out. I don't really get how it works.
Start a horror movie recommendations thread. I don't fucking know how this works.
Flapjack.
That's not how threads work.
Yak Jack asks, if you could own any official arcade cabinet for your home, which arcade game would it be?
God.
I mean, wouldn't it have to be like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something? Like,
I mean, you could do that. You could do the 4-player TMNT Turtles in Time. But
the Super Nintendo version's better anyways.
Yeah, that's true. Although the TMNT, the arcade game, TMNT 2, that was pretty good as well.
But you can get that on Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but if you have to get an arcade cabinet, I mean, the holy grail is always going to be the 6-player X-Men arcade cabinet.
Yeah, didn't they? Aren't they releasing like one of those the mini arcade cabinets that they release these days? They're doing an X-Men one.
Yeah, but it's only 4-player. It's not 6-player.
I will be honest though. I've never been. I've never considered myself a fan of like arcade cabinets. Like I've never even really genuinely felt
I
the
know
appeal of going to the arcade, and I know that makes me kind of weird. Yeah, dude.
What?
I mean,
you never got like when you were younger, you never got hyped to go to an arcade.
There's a few exceptions. Like I used to be really into the Lost World.
Of course you were. That game
Yeah.
sucks too. But you
Dude,
know, whatever. I mean,
they all kind of suck.
no,
To
what
be totally
the
honest.
fuck are you talking about? They're just video games. I mean, Lycan games are like pretty cool, right? Like having like a full size like Time Crisis with the
That
pedals.
I would go for
shit
that.
Would be cool.
Yes.
So that's what I was gonna bring up. Is like, yeah, like Time Crisis would be a good one. Any of the like the bigger ones. I'm not just talking about like, oh, let me put a quarter on this machine because I want to play some Pac-Man. I'm talking about the fucking cool arcade games. Like Nick said, like the fucking shit you get into, like the fucking motorcycle, and you're fucking lean and decide to like that's the stuff. If I was gonna get an arcade game, that's the kind of thing I would want to get.
I'm only interested in it. I'm only
right?
interested in it if I need a fucking room in my house for it. Like I need its own dedicated room for that fucking machine. Then I'm interested.
The thing is, I'd probably want like a fighting game, like so something that you could play for like forever, right? There are some like if you own like a Lycan game, it wouldn't take long for you to like master that Lycan game. It would kind of like lose its luster, right? But like something like a competitive game, you could play forever, provided you have someone to play with. But you know,
one of the teases from us, going to Chai's every year for E3 was in the back of his place. He has a original Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet.
Yeah. Yep.
And he frequently, if
you go back to watch our streams and whatnot from E3, you could often see it hidden, tucked away in the back behind us. But yeah, I don't think it didn't really come up very often. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right, tell you what, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll answer more questions from our supporter everybody. This, like I said, this is open to everybody. These have been questions from people on Twitter. I have some questions that were submitted from Discord and whatnot. So we'll answer more of those when we get back from this short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. As I said at the end of the last segment, we have more questions. We're making this a very community questions centric episode. We open it up to everybody on Twitter and in Discord and all that good stuff. So, Brad, do you have any more Twitter questions you want to go through?
Yeah, sure. Herotham Goobus, aka Goobus on Twitter, says, "You played Ender Lilies yet?" That may have just been a question he was asking me aside from me requesting questions, but I will say that it is on my radar. I do intend to play it when I can get it on a sale. It is, I don't know if y'all have heard of the game Ender Lilies. It's kind of one of the Jimmy's hidden gems that have been indie hidden gems that have been released this year. There's a lot of them, but I've heard if you like something like Assault and Sanctuary or Hollow Knight, you'll probably like Ender Lilies. And I like both those games, and I will definitely play Ender Lilies. Skate for Life, Brad Skate for Life asks, "Is there a game you didn't enjoy much at first, but you gave it another chance later in time, and you ended up liking it a lot?" Question mark.
I feel like everybody has a game like that.
Yeah. Big one for me is Morrowind. I think a lot of people go through this with Elder Scrolls. For me, it was Morrowind, which was like kind of really janky and easy to die to like get swarmed by cliff racers or whatever early on. Kind of impenetrable at first, but once you get over that hump, man, and just overwhelming. Honestly, it was like the first really big open RPG that I played, and when I got over that hump,
does it count that I bounced off of Oblivion like 4 times and then really got into Skyrim? Like really got into Skyrim? I mean, I know they're different games, but You know,
I mean, you're
I
kind of just stealing my example. Do you have one of your own?
well, no, I was adding to your comment about Elder Scrolls. I just didn't know if that qualified.
The one that definitely comes to mind for me is way back in the day, very like 2001, 2002, was Halo for me. I just kind of bounced off that real hard. And then I just kind of came back to it like 6 months later, and it just that was it. I understood and I came to love
The
it.
single player or the multiplayer?
I want to say single player. I didn't really have multiplayer to do at the time.
I don't mean to steal everybody's answers here, but just as a quick aside to that, I bought a secondhand Xbox because I was so excited and I wanted to play Halo so bad. And I got the Xbox, took it home, and I played Halo for like 30 minutes, and I was like, I don't like this, and I turned it off, and
You really
I
are
walked
stealing
away.
everybody's answers.
I mean, but it's true. I mean,
Well, what did you play after you stopped playing Halo? Fusion Frenzy?
Fable probably.
No.
I liked Fable a lot more than Halo at the
Nolan?
time. I have since gone back and I like Halo a lot now.
What's a game that you didn't like at first that also Nick played that he also didn't like at first?
I know, I'm trying to think of something that Nick maybe would have an answer to. Honestly, I'm having trouble thinking of one that
Me too.
I didn't like, but then ended up picking up and actually enjoying. Because for the most part, all the games I can think of that I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't like that game. I usually end up just kind of putting them down and not picking them up again.
That's usually how it
Yeah,
goes.
I can't think of too much off the top
I have
of
a
my
future answer for you, Nolan. Slay the Spire. You're going to pick up Slay the Spire again, and you're going to become so obsessed with it. It's going to become your favorite game.
I mean, it's possible.
All right. Next question, Brad. You got more?
Illumination asks, will you ever add a male member to your Genshin Impact group? The answer is no. Next question. The Drunken Merchant.
No, the next question is going to be, are you actually going to get a proper drop that you're going to enjoy in Genshin?
I don't play Genshin Impact anymore. Although, I don't know if you heard, they are adding Aloy to Genshin Impact, which is crazy.
Across all platforms, by the way. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. The Drunken Merchant asks, with your conversation about rolling an ocarina of, he put in quotes, about rolling an ocarina of time to go faster or backdashing in Symphony of the Night, what are the worst accusers of slow base movement speed in your opinion?
Death's Door.
Hey.
Yeah, I've heard that about Death's Door for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's pretty bad.
He brings up Symphony of the Night, but I will say the worst offender of in post Symphony of the Night world is actually Circle of the Moon on Game Boy Advance, which I recently popped in the other day. That one, your base movement is so fucking slow, like classic Castlevania slow, and the only way to run is to double tap forward. You can't like hold down a button to run. So anytime you want to run or jump, you have to tap forward twice to start the run. So you have to do that for basically the entire game, and it sucks.
Wow.
I don't know if I have an I mean, I feel like my answer is kind of what he named there. I mean, I also feel like it's kind of one of those problems that's more common these days in like more like retro style side scroller like that of that style. Or actually, I think it's a problem that's been largely addressed in like 2D side scrollers, like developers trying to make games that are a throwback to those classic games. Don't really have that problem, right? Like movement, and it always a lot of times feels very fast and snappy. But back in the day, I feel like that was actually a very common thing.
Morrowind was pretty bad, especially when you sprinted. It drained your stamina gauge, which you needed for combat, and it didn't refill very fast.
Fallout, but maybe that's because I'm carrying too much shit.
You need cars in Fallout.
No, I was gonna say Skyward Sword. Dude, I hate the running in that game, mainly just because it uses so much stamina so fast.
And you have to stop every 5 seconds to let your stamina refill, or you have to strategically try and run over those like little green things that refill that completely
in the same vein. Dragon's Dogma You sprint for a very short distance before you run out of stamina and you're walking again. It's very frustrating.
You know what? Also classic I don't know, classic, but Silent Hill has kind of, I mean, I feel like that's more of just like more classic survival horror movement. Was so clunky, but I don't know. I guess it kind of bothered me in like Silent Hill 2 how I feel like I'm running but I'm not going anywhere sometimes. I don't know. Any other Twitter questions, Brad?
One more from Riddick. Hey Brad, can you bring back This Week on the Feed or Cooking with Brad? Good question. I would love to, but probably not.
Yeah. Things have changed a bit since those days.
I think that you should bring back Brad Appetit, but instead of it being foods you eat, it should be foods you try to get your children to eat.
I don't know how much recording of Henry he wants to do. I'm not saying he can't, but
honestly, his problem is he takes too long to eat, so they'd be long videos.
All right, I have some questions. Again, I open this up to people to submit questions via a public forum. So I have our first question from William from Ontario, Canada. He says, the actor Norman Reedus posted a suspicious Instagram video the other day featuring Robbie the Rabbit from the Silent Hill series. Do you guys think this was a subtle tease to a potential Silent Hill game?
Who posted it?
The question? Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus, okay.
Norman Reedus.
He's just fucking with us.
Do you guys think this was a subtle tease to a potential Silent Hill game, possibly with Bloober Team or something else?
Funny you bring this up, because I have a side to that.
It is a very strange coincidence that, I mean, Norman Reedus, I think, has demonstrated several times that he's into games and whatnot. I don't know if that, like, his partner, like his interest in being a part of video games so far has seemed very kind of like very much born from like his relationship with Kojima, which makes it feel like kind of a leap to say he would suddenly be involved with a Silent Hill game from Bloober Team.
Yeah.
I think that's too much.
Maybe it's not the Bloober Team one.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, part of me still thinks like maybe this fucking abandoned thing is fucking
okay. It's funny you bring that up, Nick, because the poor developer of Abandon who was like crying on Twitter because people were being so mean to him or whatever the fuck he was saying, like, this just got out of control. You know who I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about.
Everyone was feeling bad for him. Well, they just posted a tweet yesterday
teaser,
or whatever with like a blurred out image of someone who is very clearly Solid as Snake from Metal Gear Solid 2. So I don't know. I mean,
they keep trying to make it seem like they have no involvement with Konami, and then they keep doing things that very obviously are pointing to a relationship with Konami.
They want people to talk about their fucking game, okay? I don't feel any sympathy for these fuckers at all. They know what they're doing, okay? Even with their like sob story, they know what they're doing.
The first time I was like, okay, I could see how maybe they let it get away from them a little bit. But now it's just like, now you're just doing it intentionally, it seems like.
They've written themselves into a corner, because if this project ends up being announced as a Konami project, as whether it's Metal Gear or Silent Hill or whatever, like they're going to get shit, but they're going to get even more shit if they just announce their project and it has nothing to do with the Konami property, but they've been using like teases and stuff like that to imply that
it's better than releasing a game and no one ever talking about your game ever, because it's really hard to release an indie game these days.
I mean, here's one thing I do want to say. I mean, this whole thing seems really misleading and it's kind of gross, but at the same time, you know, there's been a lot of talk over the years about Silent Hill coming back, and a lot of the talk has been implying that there's multiple projects in the works, and they're all being outsourced to, you know, studios outside of Konami. So, you know, even though they're insisting this is not Silent Hill, this could be one of those third-party Silent Hill games. I mean, they're making a huge deal out of it, right? They got this thing, this experience app launching next week, and it's supposed to be like a week long of like gameplay like demonstrations and trailers and shit. And I feel like you wouldn't be going through all that trouble if it wasn't going to obviously be a big deal. You know what I mean? But then again, what if they are just trying to make their game a bigger deal than it actually is?
Speaking of Silent Hill, look, dude,
We have more questions.
it's one of those franchises that the fans of it love it way more than it was ever successful. It's it's like Chris Davis crying over there about Splinter Cell. Critically acclaimed, sure, right? But as far as Ubisoft's bottom line goes, it never really set the world on fire in terms of sales numbers. But people love it so fucking much that they just expect it to come back. But if it doesn't make Ubisoft a bunch of money, maybe we should just stop expecting it. I feel like the same goes for Silent Hill. Like Silent Hill was never like this huge, huge success, I don't think, right? It was never like even close to Resident Evil in terms of sales. It was just like
But I also don't think it ever costs as much to make as Resident Evil. I don't know.
Maybe, sure, but
that's
I'm just
debatable.
saying the fans love it more than it was successful. So I think the fact that we live in a world where people think 2 Silent Hill games are coming just seems crazy to me a little bit. But
you're right. You're not wrong. I hope you're wrong, but you're probably not.
I mean, the last one was Downpour.
But again, super underrated game in my opinion. Just putting that out there into the world.
Sold 3 copies.
Well, it's one of those things, Nick, where like
cult
classics do not generate revenue, and it's also one of those things where like Brad said, it's a bottom line kind of type deal. It's like if a game becomes super popular a year after it comes out, they've already kind of marked it down as a failure.
But here's the thing.
Books.
If this was just the first time Silent Hill was resurfacing since Downpour, that'd be one thing. But we now live in a post-PT world, and PT made Silent Hill way more relevant than it ever had.
PT was never Silent Hill.
It was never Silent Hill.
Dude, it does not matter that PT was never Silent Hill. It ended by saying this will eventually become Silent Hill, and then Silent Hills became one of the most anticipated horror games ever made.
For you?
And like, no. I think just in general, that thing set the world on fire. PT set the fucking world on fire, and then all of a sudden it was Kojima making Silent Hill with Norman Reedus, and the demo was amazing. And I do think that did so well that it elevated Silent Hill to a level that, like, if Silent Hill comes back, people aren't thinking about Downpour. People are thinking about PT and Silent Hills and what could have been. And I think that is what's going to make it relevant more than anything right now.
Sure, but the further you get from PT, the less that
they got to strike while the iron is hot, baby. All right. Shut the fuck up, Brad. It's so hot. Okay. Our next question comes from Osama bin Affleck from Florida.
No.
Would you rather have a little bit of cheese on everything that you eat, or never be allowed to eat cheese again?
Cheese on everything. Yeah,
cheese on everything.
Make it work.
Dude, yeah. Don't you feel like you'd die at a young age if you had cheese on everything you ate for the rest of time?
Just a little bit.
You're eating the wrong cheese, Nick.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of variety of cheese out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could cheat by just sprinkling a little bit of Parmesan on your ice cream or whatever.
You get some good goat cheese. Oh, so first off, the whole like, Kraft is making a macaroni and ice cream that's cheese flavored. Dude, cheese flavored ice cream has been around for decades.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the first time I had cheese flavored ice cream was probably around 2008, 2009. There's not a new concept. Dude, yeah, but that's the thing. Yes, it is not as common as like fucking vanilla or Rocky Road, but it's been around for decades, especially in other countries. And it's not an American thing. In a lot of Asian countries, they have way better flavored ice creams like cheese and like ube, kind of stuff like that. And so like
I can definitely see. Count? Does cream cheese count?
I
cream cheese on a lot of things.
Zero Skies asked cheese on sushi. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever heard of a Philadelphia roll?
Well, that's cream cheese.
So
and if cream cheese counts, then yeah. I mean, you could probably find enough ways to make that palatable that it would be better to have it on everything than to never be able to have cheese again. Because Lord knows nobody wants to give up cheese.
Yeah.
Peace is delicious.
Yeah. So good question. Good question. Our next question is from Damien or Cool Chrono Hedgehog Boy on Twitter. He's from Illinois. He wrote originally Mississippi. So
A little bit of a difference there.
Simple. What do you think about a hard mode? Wait. What do you think about a hard mode in a Souls game? I don't think so. I don't think being. Wait. Sorry, this is worded strange. This is worded strangely. What do you think about a hard mode in a Souls game?
It exists in a lot of Souls games. There's usually a way to make the game harder.
Yeah, whether it's through like the covenants or something like that, or
Dark Souls 2 had like a bell that you rung, or what?
Yeah. If you ring that bell, yeah.
But it made it harder. So like, in that sense, like
Sekiro had that
too. The default mode is the easy mode, but it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. He says, I know it's a slightly controversial topic for some reason, but I'm not losing sleep over this. But I just want to know what you guys think. It looks like the creator is not doing it anytime soon, anyways. P.S. I hope Nick gets his computer fixed. Thank you.
Was it ever broken? That's the real question.
It
definitely was broken. It definitely was broken.
Just at one point, I thought it was broken. Fuck. That's literally all I still want to know is there anything actually wrong with this fucking blinking goddamn light? But anyways, it is a controversial topic, and I am of the opinion that I just like Souls games the way they are. I'm not saying that because I think certain people should be gated from playing them, or it shouldn't be as accessible.
People obsess over them, and they do New Game Plus, and they keep playing them over and over again. But the thing about Souls games is they'll never be as harder as the first time you play through them, really, right? Yeah. Because once you learn a Souls game, you're just kind of like running through the motions. And
I think there's an instinct to a lot of people when they hear someone say they don't think those games should have easy mode. It's like this knee jerk reaction of like, so you just don't want you just want certain people to not be able to play the game. And I'm just like that's not how I feel. I just feel like what makes those games special is literally going through the trouble, the frustration of learning them. I don't know if the magic would be the same if you could just knock it down and blow through it.
I would argue against an easy mode, if only because I think the community and the conversation that happens around these Souls games is a big part of that experience. And if some of the people just aren't having that same moment as everybody else because they're playing on some easy mode,
that's a good point.
It kind of takes away some of the magic of playing a Souls game for the first time with everybody else,
Yeah.
I don't know if it says something about me, but when they talked about difficulty, my first thought was not an easy mode. My first thought was making it harder.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually the question.
No.
That was literally the question for this one, I think.
No, I guess you're right. It says, what do you think about a hard mode in this? I read that as an easy mode. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Harder modes are always a good idea to me. Easy modes are not always a good idea to me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's referencing this controversial topic, and I don't think it's ever been controversial to add. I think it's been controversial to add difficulty modes in general, which I think it naturally
depends on your definition of hard and easy and how you make it hard.
Yeah. But here's the thing: like Brad said, multiple Souls games they have ways of making the game harder. But it's literally built into the lore, and you have to figure it out, and you have to make the decision to trigger the thing that then suddenly makes the game harder, which I think is a really cool way of doing it. It's much more effective, much more impactful than, say, booting up a game and just going to a start menu and hitting hard mode.
And there's a difference between
co-op is easy mode. Zero Skies in chat brings up a good point.
That's
there is an easy mode. It's called Sekiro, doesn't have that, and that's why a lot of people didn't finish that game.
And again,
I think
there's a difference between there's natural difficulty, just the base level of the game. There's the enable difficulty of like the covenants and dark world tendency and things that are built in the game to make it harder if you want that experience. And then there's artificial difficulty, which you can do. Like you choose to play as this only one character with this certain weapon, or you do no blocking, only dodging. Things like that you force on yourself.
Or you play
like
through the
there's
game
ways to
using
make it
none of
harder
the
without
powers.
requiring a hard mode.
Or
I was
you playing through the game without using any of the interesting abilities, like in Dishonored 2.
Or
no, I mean
playing through the
that's
entire
accurate.
game using the the bongo drums from
Or not
fucking
using
Donkey
Ripper mode.
Donkey Konga.
Yeah.
Donkey
Damn it,
Konga.
The guy who beat Dark Souls using bananas.
Actual bananas, literal bananas.
dude, that's bananas.
So, and also that controversy that he mentioned, I think was more of not about a specific easy or hard mode, just about the inclusion of difficulty modes in general has always been the controversy. But there's always something refreshing to me about I'm about to play a Souls game or a game from Souls, knowing that when I boot it up, I don't have to make that decision because it's already made for me. I'm just going to play the game.
I think
Along for the ride.
I find it refreshing.
I think the other thing about difficulty modes in general is that the good thing about them is that you can get varied experiences and it adds to replayability of a game. Like when you play through, for example, the Halo series, when you play through that, if you're an experienced veteran, you're playing through it on hard, but then you want to play through it again on legendary, and then maybe you want to play it again in co-op in a certain other mode. Like the difficulty modes provides an opportunity to experience things anew.
Yep, I agree. All right, our next question comes from Retro Love from Texas. Howdy. He says, since we've had a lot of remakes of beloved classics in recent years and a Dead Space remake on the way, my question is, do you think that too many remakes is bad for video games in general, or is this a good way of gauging if there's even an interest in older properties?
I don't think. Okay, those are two different questions. I don't think it's necessarily always a good way to gauge interest. Sometimes people would be like, I think people would be, for example, way more excited if they revealed a new Dino Crisis versus just re-released an old one. Because it's been so long, and there's some excitement because you're thinking not about that old game and how you make that new, but you're thinking about the other horror games that Capcom's been putting out, like Remake 2, and like, oh, I'm envisioning that with dinosaurs now. That's exciting, right? That has nothing to do with the original Dino Crisis, right?
Yeah.
So
and that series in general has
depends.
already been so different from entry to entry. I don't think there's any point in remaking it. And Dead Space is a weird case too, because it does feel like maybe not enough time has passed. But at the same time, and I said this last week when we talked about it, the reason I don't want to say I give it a pass, but the reason why I am still excited about this Dead Space thing is specifically because it's a remake, because it's not being developed by the same team. It's kind of like this is a new team putting their take on a game that already exists and kind of introducing themselves as maybe the new face of Dead Space, like this is now the team who is leading the charge for this franchise. And remaking a classic as kind of a way to introduce your version of Dead Space seems interesting to me.
And not just introducing a developer's vision for an existing property, but it's also a good way to introduce a new generation to a property. Because a lot of these properties are trapped on consoles that are beyond end of life, that are never going to get ports because of contract issues and just trademarks and stuff like that. It's not worth the effort for them to do a port to a modern system. And
to be clear though, Dead Space is not one of those, because you can play that on PC, you can play that on Xbox Live, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, but let me give you an example of a game that's trapped that will probably never get a port to a modern system. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is a game that was only available on the PlayStation 3. It's only ever been available on the PlayStation 3. You cannot play it through backwards compatibility on PS4 or PS5. If Konami announced tomorrow that they're doing a remake of Metal Gear Solid 4, like that's an opportunity for a whole new generation to experience that.
Like
game.
a remake?
Yeah, but there's also there's certain situations
too soon for
where,
that
like,
one as well.
If they were gonna do that, if they were gonna do Metal Gear Solid 4, that would just be like a remaster. Like literally just put a nice coat of paint on it, make it modern, and put it out there, and people will be happy. Like I think you need to justify a remake in some way by saying this is gonna be familiar, but it's also going to be modernizing something that needed to be modernized, and it's going to feel like it has its own identity, even though it's familiar. And that's why Resident Evil 2 Remake worked so fucking well.
You know, of all the Metal Gear Solid games, that's the one I'm so terrified to replay. I feel like it doesn't hold up. I'm scared. I don't want to play it again. I played it twice when it came out, and never again after that. I don't know why
I haven't played it since it came out either.
Now, I'm not arguing that a game from the PlayStation 3 or even PlayStation 2 eras, you know, they're not visually striking and gameplay interesting enough to just warrant a remaster. But there's going to be those situations to where the only way that they can make it financially viable or interesting for them to sell millions of copies of to get people interested to buy it is to go that extra mile and just do that remake versus a remaster.
Yeah, I just think I think there needs to be careful consideration made to, like, when you're considering how to approach re-releasing a classic, an older game. You know, I think remaking Demon's Souls made perfect sense. I don't think remaking something like Metal Gear Solid 4 makes sense, really.
But when does it make sense is the problem. Because right now we're arguing about a game that came out in 2008. You know, like, can we argue about this in 5 years and say it's okay now?
Hold on. Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, I was just gonna say, you know, obviously that finding that line, walking that line is difficult. But like, you can get your hands on a controller and look at Demon's Souls running on the PS3 and say, man, this could really use an update. You could put your hands on a controller and play Metal Gear Solid 4 and be like, damn, this still looks pretty good and it plays pretty good.
When's the last time you popped that in?
So that was going to be my question: is what if you were to remake, remaster, whatever Metal Gear Solid 4? What would you do to it? Because, like Nick's saying, it still plays pretty good. Yes, I'm sure that the loading times are not as good because it's a PS3, but it's one of those things where it's. I don't want to say it's like Wind Waker, because obviously it's not like a timeless visual, but it's one of those games where they spent a lot of time making it look good and making it run as good as it could on the console it came out on.
You know, there's things you could update there. Like I played through it a couple years ago, and you know, like the controls and the actual shooting mechanics, they're okay, but I don't think they have aged well in 12 years.
I've got the perfect answer.
That warrants a remaster?
I got the perfect answer to this question.
That's one thing. There's other things they could do to warrant it.
What's up?
Let me tell you. This is one of those situations where the only reason it would make sense to quote unquote remake a game like that is when it was followed subsequently by a sequel that dramatically improved it, and you think to yourself, man, it would be cool to go back and play that game with the controls, with the, you know, camera or whatever from like the newer shit. That is why I don't think it's necessarily as insane that Sony's already talking about remaking The Last of Us, because if I could play the story of The Last of Us with the controls of The Last of Us 2, I would do it in a fucking heartbeat. And I feel like Metal Gear Solid 4 came right before Metal Gear Solid 5, and Metal Gear Solid 5 was fucking crazy mechanically. The only problem is that was kind of an open world game, and maybe those mechanics made more sense in an open world setting like that.
It's just so different. Metal Gear Solid 4 is like every inch of it's handmade. It doesn't feel like something you should fuck with. It really
but like
doesn't.
We're getting too far from the now we're just talking about Metal Gear Solid 4.
We are too far from the question.
But to answer the original question of are too many remakes bad for video games in general?
I mean, depends.
Ugh,
Are they replacing projects that should? I mean,
Yeah, that's a good question.
it's like I don't
I mean,
think Last of Us needs to be remade, but if it's not actually taking away from another project, then I guess it's fine,
Yeah.
like we live in a world that saw the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, but we still got Resident Evil 8, and we still got Resident Evil 7, and like those all feel different. And I don't feel like I don't feel like we've lost out on good new Resident Evil because they were been spending all this time doing the remakes, which they could have easily done. Like we could just be waiting for the Resident Evil 4 remake right now, but instead we got Resident Evil 8 while we're waiting. And like they seem to be working on these games at a good clip and balancing old and new and stuff. So
And if it's really an opportunity for an old property to live again, something that you haven't seen in a very long time,
like Advance Wars.
Yeah, like Advance Wars. That's a good example. I don't think it hurts to have these remakes.
Hey, if it was get a remake of Dead Space 1 or don't get any more Dead Space, I would gladly take a remake of Dead Space 1, because if that's successful, that could lead to more new Dead Space.
What happens if it's not, Nick?
Then we tried and we fucked up. But
it'll be fine.
All right, our next question comes from Chai from LA. What is your biggest witnessed in real life cringe moment? Preferably one that doesn't involve another member of the podcast. That's too easy. I don't feel like I have a good enough memory to instantly recall shit like this.
Forget those.
Also, I try to mentally block them out immediately upon.
Are they personal cringe moments or like moments you viewed?
I think it's just moments you witnessed.
Yeah, other people.
Yeah, like watching someone like witnessing a failed proposal in public or something.
Not that moment that haunts you at 3 a.m. in your brain, from this memory of 15 years ago when you cringed yourself.
Yeah, those are the worst.
Ooh, bad stand-up, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Fuck.
That's a tough one.
See, I don't like cringe entertainment in general, so
it's not about liking cringe entertainment. It's more about like, oh, I was at a restaurant and a guy threw his plate at the waiter. Stuff like that. Like people like throwing tantrums and stuff. I'm sure it's happened. I'm just trying to think of one.
Man, I'm just trying to rack my brain for moments when I worked at GameStop, because man, there was probably some doozies. I mean, I have, I had a lot of, anyone who works in retail would know probably the having lots of repeat customers that just make you like cringe into oblivion every time they walk in. I had a lot of those.
Oh yeah, awkward people that just weird social interactions. Is it cringe when you have to call someone to tell them that instead of, I can't remember, I want to say it was like Pirates of the Caribbean. Instead of returning their DVD of Pirates of the Caribbean, inside the box was Blue Jean Blondes, and then their daughter had to come pick it up for them. Is that cringe?
I feel like it's only cringe because you told them. If you had never told them and they realized what they did,
I had to tell them. They didn't return the correct disc. I had to get the disc. I can't scan in Blue Jean Blondes, Nick.
I feel like I would have just been like, hey,
why blue jeans?
Let's just forget this. Is that one of the ones where they like fuck but they never take off their jeans?
Sure. That must be hard.
Yeah, it was.
Everybody was like, I'm sorry, what? There's been moments where
I'm sure there's been like stuff in school. I mean, man, it's just...
Here's the problem. When I see a cringe moment about to happen, I very quickly remove myself from the situation.
Nick just puts his fingers in his ears like la 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 la.
I have straight up left stores because...
Sorry, Nick puts his fingers in his ears and he's like, oh.
There we go. Thank you.
How about the dude who was gonna do a flow, like as an interview? He was gonna like do a flow with these like...
that one's so bad.
Years ago, You go. Or like I like the one a lot. This one just makes me laugh. It's not
These
cringe,
are just
but
cringe videos now.
when the guy shows up
Yeah.
to like some like I don't know, like some studio or whatever to for like a job interview, but he ends up like being interviewed like on live television. They think he's like some expert that shows up to like answer questions about some I don't know, like technology or something, but he was actually just a guy who like showed up for an interview and they just started asking him questions and then he was like he just tried to play along and it was that's a good one. That's a good one.
I thought you were gonna say the one where that guy shows up for like a dating thing or whatever, and he's talking all big talk, and then the girl comes in and he doesn't know what to do, and he stands there all awkward, and like she's all like, "Oh yeah, you want to do this?" And he's like, just like kisses her on the cheek, and it's like
Oh,
super
the
weird.
that kissing show where like the
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
kiss.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh my god! Now we're just literally talking about great cringe videos, which
Oh
you
yeah.
all know me. I can't watch it, but I have many times walked into the room with Nolan watching cringe videos and just kind of like watching over his shoulder, like, what the fuck, Nolan? How do you watch this? All right. Our next question comes from Haste. We know Haste from, as he put it, gender reveal, Flaming Hill, Southern California. uh, he says, assuming that suddenly no licensing barriers in the world of entertainment existed, if you could replace the music from your favorite game or game franchises with music from your favorite artists, bands, movie composers, or video game composers, what sort of perfect, funky, experimental combos would you create? Also, what combinations would be the worst or most inappropriate? A good example would maybe be Red Dead Redemption, scored by Ennio Morricone, composer of The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. An experimental example might be Mega Man game scored by Hideki Naganuma, who did Jet Set Radio, and a totally inappropriate example might be a Yoshi game with a soundtrack comprised of Avenged Sevenfold, Knife Party, and NWA.
That'd
I
be
like that he
better.
gave I like that he gave examples. That would make for a very colorful was it Yoshi game? Yeah, Yoshi game. Um my first instinct would be I would go back to every game that like used and the first thing that comes to mind is like Devil May Cry because everybody talks about Devil May Cry music as being like butt rock, um, and I would like replace it with like actual legitimate, respected rock or metal.
Okay, Nick. All right,
Oh yes,
Nick.
I'm
respected
just
rock, of
saying.
course.
I'm
Like
just
it's really
saying.
that different than the shit you listen
Oh,
to.
but see, that's just something that somebody who doesn't listen to that genre of music would say. Like,
Hmm,
and that's
people
very much
know
what it
some of
feels
those
like.
bands.
It feels like those games very much, and maybe this is intentional. Maybe this is what they're going for. I don't know, but like they use this music, and most of the time it's pretty cringy, and it's kind of like I mean, maybe they didn't want to pay licensing fees or get actual pre-existing music or whatever have you, but like I always feel like Devil May Cry would be awesome if it had
But
a
don't
lot of
don't
the
they
music I
have
usually
bands
listen
like
to.
you've heard of like do the music for Devil May Cry?
Uh, well, the only one I can think of is Combi Christ did a song for DMC Devil
There you
May
go.
Cry.
There you go.
And you know what? That was fucking awesome when I heard it. I was like, I fucking know this song,
There you go.
and it had it was a
People
great moment.
people really like some of those songs from Devil May Cry 5, right? It's including like the main one that pull my devil trigger or whatever. People
Fuck
love that fucking song.
no, shut the fuck
They
up.
do. They do. They really do. I'm telling you.
Shut the
Um,
fuck up. But you know what? Like when I was playing Death Stranding, Kojima has like Bring Me the Horizon is a band I listen to a lot. I mentioned it earlier when somebody asked me that. They do amazing music that spans a lot of different genres. They started in metal and they did a song for Death Stranding and it's incredible. I listen to it all the time. And when it comes on in the game, it's incredible. And I'm like, I would love to see more of that shit in games. Devil May Cry is just a good example because it's actively bad and cringy, and I would just love to make it better.
as someone who's been playing Monster Hunter Stories 2, which has really good music, there's no music when you're out in the world, and I don't understand why. It's such a bummer.
Mm.
That's
So I'll
unfortunate.
I'll I'll take any music for that when you're in dungeons or out in the world.
Uh, because I'm the only one that actually really put time into it, I'm not certain that y'all would meld with the idea.
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. But I think that if you took Daft Punk and gave them carte blanche to do the soundtrack for Cyberpunk
They broke up,
2077,
right?
Oh, that would
that
actually
you
be
would
pretty
have
cool.
something that would really elevate that game.
I feel like that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I can see that.
But I mean, is the music bad in Cyberpunk?
It's not bad, but here's the thing. I don't remember a single piece of it.
Well, no one remembers a single thing about the game, period.
Well, I mean, I played through.
It feels like it came out years ago.
I played it through to completion for 60 hours, and I don't remember a single bit of the music.
Which is very different from the playing, 60 plus hours of The Witcher 3, and I remember a lot of the music in that game. But yeah, I think Daft Punk would be a great mix for Cyberpunk. And I would also humbly request that developers stop hiring Korn to make music for all of their fucking games.
Why? What's wrong with Korn, Nick?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know,
Nick,
dude.
they're cheap. They'll do it for $10.
But they're not really cheap. They're just, I don't know. Korn was big when I was in high school.
Okay. Well, that's because they've got an ear for music, Nick.
Oh, God damn it.
I don't know. I mean, Korn is also just one of those bands that's
there are some people that think it's amazing.
Were you trying to make a pun there?
When did you shuck your love for Korn?
That's good. That's good. Any more puns? Anything else you want to get off your chest? I'm just saying, no offense to Korn, I guess, but like.
Well, Nick, hold on. Let's get to the kernel of your problem with Korn.
No. Next fucking question. Next fucking question comes from Cracknacker from London, England. And he asks,
Yield London town.
It's a two-form question. First of all, he says, have you guys ever visited the UK? If so, where, when, and what did you think? I have never been.
No.
I think I might be the only one here that has.
Okay.
I have. When was this? It was when Bernadette graduated from college. We did a tour of some European countries, and our first stop was actually London. So yeah, we went to London, did a bunch of stuff in London. We went out to Baths, the town of Baths. Mm-hmm. And then we took a ferry over the English Channel. But when we were there, yeah, we did a lot of stuff. I mean, we saw a play on West End. We, did all the fun stuff that you would do. And that's my only problem with going to a new city for the first time, especially a city like London or something like that, is you do all the touristy shit.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like I got to do as much as I would have liked. Well, yeah, because you're only there for a limited time. I think we were there for 3 days or 2.5 days. And so you just try and squeeze in as much as you can of all the touristy shit. I think I got some recommendation from Jaeger on some bars to eat at. I want to say Bone Daddy or something like that. It was a ramen bar we went to on his recommendation.
Restaurant here in Texas.
It is.
Maybe. Well, there it was a ramen shop. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely fun.
Also
and
went
I would
to
love to go
Twin
back.
Peaks.
As one does when they're visiting Yield London town.
Okay, so like I said, this is a 2-part question because he anticipated that most of us, our answer would probably be no. He said, so bonus, in case your answer above is no, please try to pronounce the names of the following places. I have pasted that list in the meeting channel in Discord.
Ooh, okay, hang on, I gotta look.
Let me pull that up.
I don't know who wants to give this an honest shot. I don't know if I can say these.
Oi, Leicester, Derby. Derby.
Yeah, Leicester, Derby.
This is borderline offensive. I can't. No, I can't. I'm surprised Brad got that first one.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's Merrill Bonnie or something like that.
Probably.
Isn't that first one? Isn't that a type of cheese or something?
Leicester, I think is actually what it's called.
Leicester?
Leicester? Yeah.
Well, no, Leicester, and then there's Leicester further down.
The fact that he put Derby on this list makes me think it's pronounced very different than what you assume it's pronounced.
Love.
The last one I have no idea.
Londudno? Fucking, I don't fucking know.
So here's the problem, because I googled that one out of curiosity. That one's from fucking Wales. So how the fuck are we gonna know how to pronounce anything that?
Nobody knows how to speak.
Fish and chips, accent. Gov.
Well, you know what they speak there, don't you, Nick?
No, not chips, crisps.
What? I don't know the what's. Teach me, Nolan.
You don't know? Does anyone know?
I forgot what
Welsh.
Oh, I mean, there's another name for it. If I'm not mistaken, I don't. Does someone in chat know? I don't know if I want to say it. I'm gonna Google to make sure I'm not crazy.
Before you say something potentially
English.
It's not English.
Definitely not English.
Okay, it doesn't seem like anybody knows it. I highly doubt I'm pronouncing it right, but it's fairly similar to Cumrag.
Oh,
Cumrag.
There's a weird accent to it that I can't do because I'm not from Wales. But yeah.
It's kind of like English, but we all have fucking cumrags in our mouth. I'm sorry.
Fucking Jesus. Well,
oh my god.
As tempting as it is, I'm not calling this the Cumrag show. Okay.
Brad said it.
Our next question comes from Piotr from the United States. Piotr says, if you had the chance to do another Project M, what game would you pick? Well, we talk about this quite frequently.
Yeah,
no, we don't.
Well, I mean, usually when we're thinking about doing another Project M, he says it like if we ever had the chance, like we have the chance. It's a lot of work.
We did one not that long ago. Yeah. But yes, it is a decent amount of work to do.
Yeah, now we have to wait like 5 years at least before we do it again. Oh man, I'll tell you this, before we settled on Resident Evil 4 for our last Project M, the conversations leading up to that decision were excruciating. Like we had I remember sitting in an airport, I think at like 2 different E3s, waiting for our plane on the flight back, and us just talking casually about like, what do we do for our next Project M? And I think a conversation was, I think, centered on the same, like we were still trying to figure out a year later what game to play for the same Project M before we landed on Resident Evil 4.
So we settled in Resident Evil 4, but one of the ideas that I was pushing pretty heavily was a triathlon.
Yeah.
To where we would do the Midgard chapter of the original Final Fantasy VII, and then we would do 2 other games that were like 6 hours.
That almost happened, right?
Yeah, we almost had it.
Midgar, because it was right around the time the remake was coming out or something.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
like where we had to stop everything and play through Midgar.
Oh yeah. It went from a triathlon to, okay, I like part of that idea, but how about, when Chris Davis blows the whistle, we have to stop playing Resident Evil 4, and we all have to like blast through the Midgar section in Final Fantasy VII before we could go back to Resident Evil 4. Turns out, even without doing something like that, it still took us a long time to get through Resident Evil 4, so I'm really glad we didn't do that.
I don't think, I think at the time we were thinking of maybe doing like Shadow of the Colossus or something instead.
Yeah, it made more sense when we were thinking about doing a game that was, typically speaking, a lot shorter. Like Shadow of the Colossus was a front runner for a while. I feel
like we talked about like Half-Life or something, or Symphony of the Night maybe.
The problem with us choosing a game for Project M is that we want it to be equal, footing going into it, and very often we'll think that, oh, this game would be great. Oh, Nolan or Nick played it like in the past year or so.
Or this person's never played it at all, and everybody else has a leg up on them, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and that honestly did happen. Like, I don't think Crispy had ever played Resident Evil 4, and so that's something, we definitely want to avoid. Anyone having a straight up just, I've played this game 48 times, so I'm an expert at it.
Which doesn't always mean anything, because Ocarina of Time, fairly certain when we did Ocarina of Time, I had played it more than anybody, but I still came in like 3rd, maybe 4th. I don't, you know what I mean? It doesn't always mean you have an advantage. I also just suck. So yeah, I think the simple answer to this question is we think about it fairly frequently, every couple of years, but actually coming up with a legitimate answer is a lot harder than you might expect. Which is why we don't do them all that often. Our next question comes from Payne Pico, from New York City. New York City. I recently introduced Robin to that clip, Brad, and she thought it was fucking hilarious.
Which one? I'm sorry.
The New York City.
Nick was
the New York
he was
City,
referring
the New
to
York
the New York City.
The New York City. And Brad, I don't know if this is an in-joke or maybe this is secretly your mother or something. I don't know. The question just says, Brad, can you say hi, honey? And I don't know if this is like some kind of weird harassment or some kind of in-joke that I'm...
Who is it from?
Payne Pico? Payne Pecco? Do you know who this person is?
No.
Then we're gonna
hi, honey.
There
I don't think that's Malia. She's never watched a second of anything I've done.
All right, that was a quick
Although
one.
her favorite clip is the one where she throws me a popsicle and I catch it wrong and it hits my finger and I go, ow.
Yeah, that's pretty
familiar
funny.
with that one.
Cool.
Our next question comes from Dingle Dangle Scarecrow from Australia. This is actually a question for me. Says, Nick, I've been watching Supernatural since January. Mostly for the first time. I'm through season 12. What? You're already ahead of me. I'm only on season 10. What is one major arc that you thought was either a stroke of genius or a big misstep?
Everything after season 5?
No, I don't. I'm not one of those people. I have enjoyed quite a bit of it post season 5. He mentions a couple things. It's just he mentions the British Men of Letters, which I've always thought was a very weird kind of chapter of the Supernatural. I mean, that's kind of where I fell off the first time I started watching it, and I would say our time spent watching the show has slowed down pretty dramatically since they introduced the British Men of Letters. It's this weird thing where they find this like underground society of hunters, and they like take up residence in their stronghold, and that's like kind of like their base of operations for like the last like 5 or 6 seasons of that show. And then there's shit with time travel, and it's weird. And I've never been a huge fan of that one. Yeah, I don't know. He mentions the Leviathans and the darkness and all this stuff, and I thought those are all pretty cool for the most part. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the British Men of Letters. Oh, but yeah, since I'm the only one who can really answer this question, we can move on. Our next question comes from Slopdog from the United States. When was the last time you lost your absolute shit with excitement over something that happened in a game you were playing?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Man, I lost my shit with excitement when I beat the final boss of Returnal, and I realized it was over.
I think that was more relief than excitement.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the ending of Half-Life Alyx for me, just oh boy,
Ooh man, the moment with Jeff in Half-Life Alyx where I realized what I had to do, man, I was like giddy with excitement, and I was like, it was crazy.
I would say Half-Life Alyx is a good example, and just because I'm trying to think of recent games I've played, but mainly for the sheer kind of not nostalgic. Sorry, like uniqueness. There were so many unique things in that game that we've never seen before, and so that was definitely something.
The first time I did the flick, and I caught something, I was like, oh.
But another one would be Yakuza Like a Dragon. Dude, there were so many moments in that game where it's just so over the top that it's just fun, and I'm just like left myself super like smiling and satisfied, just because of how goofy it is. But yeah,
I will say
the question is a moment of excitement, or
yeah. Last time you lost your shit with excitement.
Lost my shit.
This is not exactly the same thing necessarily, but I've somehow made it into The Last of Us Part 2 without spoiling anything. And I remember thinking I was approaching the end of Act 1, if you will, I guess. Part 1, whatever. And I was like, I feel like I'm approaching the end of the game, and then the flip happens, and you're suddenly playing as a different character, and then everything is kind of recontextualized, and I realized what was happening, and I got fucking super hype. I was like, this is incredible. And I was suddenly like excited all over again. Because like that at that point I had been playing for like 15 hours or something, and I was like, all right, I feel like I'm approaching the end of this. And then I was like, I feel like I was playing something totally new all over again, and I was like, I am on board for another 15 plus hours of this because this is a cool flip. If that had been spoiled for me, I feel like that wouldn't have been nearly as exciting, but I kind of lost my shit when that happened.
Damn, that's
Anything
a good
else?
question.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
think on it. If anything pops into your head, we can come back. Let's see. Gamerbeck, aka Dexter Morgan, in Discord. I appreciate that reference from Illinois. Says, what's your prediction regarding the blue box conspiracy? Is it Kojima, Silent Hill, or is it really a random indie team no one's ever heard of? Well, we kind of talked about this earlier.
I don't even care at this point.
I'm not as cynical as Brad. I definitely still care. Even if at the slightest chance at being Silent Hill, I care. But at the same time, I was also super interested in the game when it was announced, when Abandoned was announced, and it had nothing to do. Like, nobody thought it was Silent Hill. It was just this super realistic looking horror game where you're lost in the woods, and you know, I talk about Blair Witch a lot, and that sounds very much like, if it's like an ultra realistic kind of like horror game that kind of plays in the same fears as that game does, like, fuck yeah, I'm in. I want to know more about it, and I'm still kind of hoping that's what it is. But a part of me still kind of hopes it's Silent Hill. But we'll find out next week, I suppose. I think August 10th is when, or I guess the week after that, August 10th. Next time we record a podcast, we'll probably know the answer to that question, I think.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I have a feeling we may still not know necessarily what it is, but I don't know.
I'm sitting here thinking, just because, you know, my brain works, and sometimes I'll just go back to something. Isn't that first word on that list from earlier just pronounced like Lester? Isn't that something weird like that?
I don't
might.
know.
I think it's just pronounced Lester. Anyway,
I do want to acknowledge real quick our first time chatter who just popped in. Cougarific1 says, "Are you actually playing Ancestors?" Probably because the overlay has Ancestors in the background. Chris Davis played all the way through Ancestors, and we talked about it in the first segment of this podcast for like 25 minutes. So if you missed it, this episode will be available on Monday. We talked.
So in that regard, Cougarific, Nick might need some hints because he's thinking about picking up that game.
Yeah, there we go.
It's only $16 on Steam right now.
It's only I'm don't tempt me, Chris Davis. Our next question
it's normally $40.
There were many times I lost my shit, I feel like. The first time I was playing through Subnautica.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going down certain depths. Like, just definitely losing my shit with excitement.
Trying to navigate through like a tight crevice, like deep under the ocean with my submarine, and hearing the sides of the.
This was my answer, Nick, not yours.
Well, fine. Fuck you. Vang asks, I think he may have asked this question to you on Twitter too. He said, "How are you doing? How's life been treating you these past few years?" I think we kind of covered that. And was he the person who asked that on Twitter?
Who?
Vang? Was it Vang?
No.
Our next
question could be better. I spent $1,700 on my car today, so
Jesus.
That's
Did you try not doing that?
I would have preferred not to, but when you have $1,000 deductible on your insurance and you got to repair hail damage from April.
Oh, yeah. Dang. You were just now getting to the hail damage? That's intense.
I mean, that's how backed up it was.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense. A lot of people had hail damage. Prince from Virginia, I'm assuming this is Prince of the Universe, says, "Is there a genre of video game you've been trying to get into for the last few years that you just can't? And if so, what recent game in the genre did you try that failed to grab you?
Genre of game?
I'm about to try dipping my toes into the visual novel genre. I have not had any failed attempts yet, but we might have one coming up. We'll see.
Failed attempts at a genre.
I've had successful attempts at getting into new genres lately, which
I like.
Same.
Yeah,
good for you.
Can't think of
like
any
I
failed
played my
attempts.
first Castlevania game for the first time several weeks ago.
But that wasn't your first like Castlevania type game, right? Just your first Castlevania game.
Well, I mean, I played Metroidvanias, but I never played Castlevania. So,
but okay, sure. Wait, hold on. Which Castlevania did you play?
Symphony of the Night.
Dude, that's literally the definition of like a Metroidvania.
Oh, I guess I just completely forgot about Bloodstained. So, yeah, never mind.
Oh yeah, you loved that game, didn't you?
I did
And
enjoy
that's
that.
a Metroidvania. That's a Castlevania.
Those lines are so blurred at this point. You know, I don't know. I've mentioned several times that I am now officially a fan of survival games, which brings me to a comment that Cougarific made in chat, and it's making me sweat. He said, Subnautica is what brought me to Ancestors, and now I'm like, what?
There you go.
That's the biggest argument right there I've heard for playing Ancestors. I mean, it's
so I have spent 40 minutes pitching this game to you, and all it took was one line from chat.
All you had to say was Subnautica, and I was like, I'm in.
Oh, you mean one of your 3 least favorite games of the year, Nick?
I knew you were gonna fucking hold that in the back of your fucking mind. So
motherfucker.
Chris Davis, Nick also would have accepted Singularity.
Yep.
I don't know how I would have mixed Singularity into Ancestors. Give me a little time, and I'll think of it.
You better find an answer. Our next question, only a couple more.
Time travel.
Flip Yak Jack from California asks, if you were to become VTubers, what would your VTuber personas be like? Someone please define a VTuber for me. What is this? Should I not be asking that question? What is a VTuber?
Oh,
I'm surprised you don't know what a VTuber
avatar
is.
Oh, it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure my VTuber character would literally be an avatar that looks like Dexter Morgan, but with my face or something.
I mean, but the thing about a VTuber is you're not just
a VTuber works.
It's not just an avatar. You're acting the character. You're acting.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do like a Dexter Morgan thing, you would have to act like you're Dexter Morgan.
That would probably be the only way I would ever be convinced to do that, is if someone told me I could pretend to be Dexter and I had to get my acting chops on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's probably the only way. But it's not going to happen. So
I'd be a cute Japanese girl. And she'd have massive tits.
And you should absolutely not use a voice modulator to pitch yourself up. You should use that 100% normal voice.
Yeah, that would be awesome, actually.
It'd be like Dr. Girlfriend, but VTuber edition.
Oh my god, I would absolutely fucking love that. Nolan, do you have an answer?
No.
All right.
I don't have an answer.
We got another question. The last question tonight comes from Vang again. He says, "How often do you get your vehicles serviced?" I guess he took these questions. He's like, "Oh, we can ask them anything. I'm just going to ask."
Does he need advice? Is this what's
every 6 months or every 5,000 miles?
I'm getting my car completely inspected on Saturday because I'm going on a road trip next week. So I want to make sure it's in tip-top shape.
My registration is due next month, so I gotta do it soon.
Wait. You're getting your car inspected when?
On Saturday.
But what if there is issues? What if you don't have enough time to?
I mean, if I have issues at this point, it's going to be like, maybe I need to put new tires on it, or maybe I need to change my oil.
Well, you should. Your tires should be
actually,
good.
know
Your
if you
oil
need to
should be
change
good
your
before
oil.
you go. Yeah.
I'm coming up. I'm doing it out of an abundance of caution. If something comes up, we'll end up taking Robin's car. But
Yeah.
you know what? It's not a huge deal. But God damn it, Brad! Don't make me question this.
What are you going to bring us back from Pennsylvania?
COVID. Just kidding. That's a joke. That's
Damn.
a joke. That's a joke. I'm sorry. I saw a joke and I went for it. I apologize. Hopefully, God not. Shit. Sorry. That was just I saw a joke and I fucking beelined it.
Wow.
That's supposed to be funny, but
I know. You know, they have these sandwiches in Pennsylvania that are really amazing.
It's
They're
called a Philly cheesesteak, Nick.
No. They have no, God damn it. No.
They're delicious. They're
Permantes. People in Pennsylvania probably know what the fuck I'm talking about. The Permantes, which I had a lot when I was going to Pennsylvania quite frequently. Permantes. They were made famous for they made this sandwich that they would sell to. They made it for truckers because truckers would come through and they'd need something they could eat while like with one hand while they were driving. So it's like this sandwich that has like pastrami and onions and French fries on it and like potato salad, not potato, coleslaw on it, you know. And it's all kind of wrapped. It's kind of like wrapped like you would wrap like a burrito or something where you can hold it with
like
one
a
hand.
baby.
And just kinda, yeah, but it's fucking good. It's fucking good. So I
and this is
definitely
called
want to have
panties.
Permantes. Although you don't usually say it like that. Permantes. Not
Like
panties.
to order one per mantis.
Yes. I will not be actually bringing that back for you, but if I could bring anything, pre-mantis. Thank you.
Primanti. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you,
Not
Scarecrow.
post mantis, pre mantis.
I will not actually be bringing you back a pre-mantis sandwich.
That's
but
actually a good looking sandwich.
If I was to bring you back something, it would probably be that. But I'm also driving, and I don't think you want to eat those sandwiches after they've been sitting in my car for, however long. Just a thought. Anyways, that's it for questions tonight, guys. Thank you very much for submitting these. Hope y'all enjoyed it. If you would like to ask questions on a future show, maybe we'll do this again where we open it up to the public. But for the most part, we do this for supporters on Patreon and Twitch. So if you're interested, go to patreon.com/4Player. $1 a month. You can ask us anything on the podcast like this. But now it is time to wrap up. Again, quick reminder, next week, not sure if we're going to have a podcast, but if we do, we'll let you know in Discord, on social media, all that good stuff. But now let's wrap up the show with the 4-Player Minute. Brad, start us off.
Okay. My hype. Well, what is the 4-Player Minute, Nick?
Hype, sweat, thank you, and fuck you. He always yeah, you know what it is, Brad.
My hype for this week is for the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. They've only released 1, 2, and 3, which I do not intend to purchase or play because I don't care about those games. But the talk of the town has been the fact that they remixed all the audio. Like they did like remixes for the songs, and like they sound like amazing. They obviously don't sound like fucking NES music. They sound kind of incredible. And that's very exciting to hear that they were doing that. One, because I didn't know that they were doing that. And two, like Final Fantasy 4, 5, and especially 6 is some of my favorite, most nostalgic game music. And to get awesome, remixes of those games when those pixel remasters hit is like super exciting for me. So I'm really hyped about that. I don't know, when are they supposed to release the 4, 5, and 6 for the pixel remasters?
I don't know the date, but I would imagine it's not going to be. I don't think they're going to put too much time in between them.
Also, they need to put them on Switch. Are they out of their fucking minds? Jesus.
Yes, they are out of their mind. Hey, Steam Deck, baby.
Yeah. I'm on the fence now with that. My sweat is for Tales of Arise skits. They released they did like a panel or whatever today, and they showed some new footage, and they showed off the way the skits work in this, which are different because before they've always used hand drawn like cutouts and did stuff with that to kind of make it fun and funny. And now they're using like 3D models in the skits, which is, but and they're still doing like kind of like cutaways to make it kind of like a motion comic. There's a little bit of movement, their mouths move, but it's these 3D models, and I'm a little worried that it's going to lose some of the personality because a lot of what they did in the 2D skits was like they did a lot of like anime style like reaction like poses and stuff, kind of like like in Phoenix Wright when like someone's on the stand and they start freaking out and they do like certain poses and stuff. It's very anime, and they did that with like Tales of skits, and I'm worried that using 3D models they might lose some of that personality. That would be a real bummer because skits in Tales of games are some of the most memorable parts of those games, to be honest. My fuck you for this week goes to I can't remember if we brought this up on a podcast, but the Judgment series is in jeopardy because the talent agency who basically owns, because talent agencies in Japan are a little weird, and they basically fucking own the dude who's the lead character of the Judgment series, the lead actor who plays the main character, who's like a really big star in Japan, but he's basically like fucking tied up. So like contract wise, they can't do anything like that. This agency's not cool with, and the agency does not want a PC version of the Judgment game of Lost Judgment. But Sega's like, dude, we need this PC version to make this like financially viable for us. If we can't make this deal, then we can't keep. Sega's came out and said like we can't continue this series if we can't make this deal, and not and they're acting like maybe they can't make any more Judgment games because of this situation. And so fuck that weird talent agency that basically owns this fucking actor and keeping him from making basically they don't want his character model uh in a PC version of the game because they don't want modders ripping the model out and doing like fucked up shit with it, right? You know, yeah. Did we talk
You're
about
slowing
this
them down by
podcast?
an hour by not doing a PC version.
Well, I mean, they don't really rip stuff out of console versions that often, but I know
But
they
they'll
can.
find a way.
And my thank you for this week goes to the great state of California for introducing this lawsuit against Activision Blizzard. That's like an actual like big deal. It's not just like some class action thing or like it's not an individual that's suing Activision Blizzard. It's the state of California, and if you've been reading the news, you would know that that's a company that's in some shit right now. And yeah, fuck all that stuff that I read about them this week. It's really bad. So yeah, fuck them. But thanks, California. Go get them. That's it.
Sorry, that was my
Okay.
bad.
Why were you
My bad.
muted?
This guy.
Were you
Because
farting?
Maggie was going fucking bananas.
The Cosby.
I
Fucking
apologize.
Cosby suite. Did you read about that shit?
That's
The
what I was.
the
Sorry,
Cosby suite? Oh my god.
I realized I was saying this out loud and you couldn't hear me. So I was like, "There's some real fucked up shit coming to light," and like, oh my god. So yeah, that Cosby suite shit is fucked up, and I hope they all get fucked up from this. All right, Nolan, it is your turn. Is what I said.
All right. Cool. My 4-player minute starts now. I got 3 hypes and a fuck you. My first hype this week is going to the fact that the Suicide Squad is getting really good reviews. I am excited for that.
Oh, is it really?
Is that coming to HBO Max?
Yes.
Also, the Green Knight is getting really good reviews.
And my second hype is the Green Knight is getting really good reviews.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 of my hypes. I'm excited for both of those movies. I had seen original trailers and I was kind of excited for them. But apparently they're both like really good, so I'm hyped for that.
Green Knight's only in theaters though, right? For now.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. It's been a while since I've seen a really fucking good movie. The more recent one I thought I was gonna really like was No Sudden Move. But honestly, the biggest problem I had with that movie was they shot the whole thing on like a fucking wide angle lens, and so the outside of like the edges of the frames are warped. And like I'm googling this because I'm like, am I going crazy? But no, and apparently it was just a director's choice, and it looks horrible. I
what
hate
movie
it.
is that? No Sudden Move?
It's called No Sudden Move.
That's
It's
a
with
Steven Soderbergh movie. He's
it's a
always
Steven
doing weird
Soderbergh.
shit.
It has Don Cheadle, I think, and what's his face? Not Javier Bardem. What is his name? I'm drawing a huge blank. No, he was oh goodness. Someone in chat's got to help me out here, or I could just Google it real quick, because my brain is not working right now.
Speaking of Don Cheadle, I didn't watch, but I feel like I've experienced the entirety of Space Jam: A New Legacy via the My Brother and Me podcast, and I'm happy with that.
Benicio del Toro. Yes, Benicio del Toro was who I could not think of because my brain's not working, and also Kieran Culkin. So I mean, I had like a pretty good cast, but that honestly the director of photography, whoever chose to use a lens like that, just hated it. My third hype is for I Expect You to Die. Brad reminded me earlier that game's coming out pretty soon, and I am super hyped for it because I loved the first one. Expect You to Die 2 should be pretty good. And then my fuck you this week is going to go to whatever engineer at ASUS thought it was a good deal, a good idea to have a red blinking light mean everything's okay.
But also, supposedly. It might not mean everything's okay.
Whatever it is, they're all dumb.
My frustration.
Whatever person at ASUS decided to not put out a fucking manual for what red blinking lights mean.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, thank you. Chris Davis, it's your turn.
Okay, my hype this week is for Chernobylite. I haven't bought it yet. I was kind of surprised Nick bought it before I did, but I've got nothing on my plate in particular I want to play right now. And I mean, this is the next entry from a developer who made one of the most interesting games I've played the past 5 years. So,
and which one is that?
Do I really have to say it?
I heard that would be very much Nick's shit.
Okay. Well, this is the next narrative game from the Farm 51, which is responsible for Get Even. So I want to see what this is in like a supernatural Chernobyl setting. So
you want to know what the most interesting thing I heard? I didn't realize this. There's like survival elements and base building in that game, and I had no idea.
I had no idea either. That's interesting. Okay.
That is what I was like. I already kind of knew what this was, but I didn't know that existed, and that was kind of like what tipped the scales for me. And it was like, okay, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna at least give it a try, see how it goes.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be playing that and maybe talking about it on the next podcast as well.
Yeah. My sweat this week. Until today, when I had to spend a lot of money on my car, I had been thinking about building or at least doing a large upgrade on my existing PC. But between the chip shortage and prices not coming down nearly as fast as I want them to be, I'm thinking I may not even do a build this year. I think I may wait until the 4000 series graphics cards come out. So like end of next year before it actually upgrade.
Don't you have a PS5?
I mean, yeah, I do.
You'll be
but
fine.
There'll be some games that, I may not be able to play on PS5. So, it is what it is. So,
it is what it is.
So my first fuck you this week goes to Activision for everything Brad mentioned earlier. I guess one thing that wasn't mentioned was that the day of the announcement that they were going to do, the Blizzard was going to do the walkout, Activision signed a deal with a prestigious law firm that is known for union busting to address what's going on here. So
the ones Amazon uses.
Yeah, Amazon, the ones Amazon used to bust, I believe, Alabama's unionization attempt, and a number of them over the years. So, like, fuck Activision. God, fuck that company. And my other fuck you goes to Konami. for a little title they announced this week, showed off. Brad pointed this out to me, and I'm just like, fuck this company.
Konami made a video game?
They announced a remake for mobile of the original Contra game with probably the worst trailer possible. Oh, it is so bad. And their history with the recent entries has just been...
Konami can't be trusted with it.
No, they cannot. And this just solidifies just how bad they treat their properties now.
It gives me real hope for when they finally do decide to return to Silent Hill.
Oh, I don't hold out hope, man, because
that's a joke. I was being sarcastic.
Bad. Yeah. So yeah, that's my 4-player minute.
Alrighty, thank you. Mine starts now. My obvious fuck you for the week goes to my fucking graphics card, but my thank you, I was gonna flip it. My thank you goes to Nolan for taking time out of his schedule to come over.
What meal did you buy for him?
Well, I haven't bought him a meal yet. He was over here for quite some time.
Nolan got to take pictures of eating.
Order pizza or something?
He did sneakily take pictures of all of my animals and post them in Discord. I didn't notice that until the next day.
Posted more pictures in 2 minutes than you posted in a month.
Nick. Shit.
I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with y'all's expectations as far as how many pictures I should be posting of my dog.
It's not gonna be a puppy forever, Nick.
Yeah,
I know. I'm taking pictures. I'm sorry. I'm already feeling real intense guilt for boarding her next week when we go on this trip, and I haven't even done it yet.
Why board her?
But anyways,
you could drop her off over at Nolan's.
Yeah, totes. That's how that works.
Evie would get to socialize with other puppies.
I don't have puppies.
Yeah,
they're all puppies at heart.
Evie is still very shy around other dogs. We're still trying to we're trying to slowly but surely. So she needs to be eased into that. But anyways, neither here nor there. My thank you does go to Nolan for coming over and looking at what I've been doing and making me feel at least a little better about the fact that I didn't, except for maybe my hard drive, I somehow fucked up, which I don't even know because I didn't even really touch it. I did everything else correct for the most part. So thank you for coming over and confirming that and trying to help me diagnose the issue. The blame certainly does seem to fall on Asus for what's going on here. And at the end of the day, there might not even be a problem. So, let's see. I have 2 hypes. First one is going to be for The Last of Us television series, which is currently in production. There's a lot of talk this week about HBO talking about wanting to do like 8 seasons of the show, and a lot of people are focusing on that, but it's kind of like, guys, it doesn't even fucking matter. They're demonstrating right now is they see potential. Ton can change between now and especially when the show finally airs and we finally see like how it is, how it's received, all that stuff. But like the fact that they seem to be putting a lot of their eggs in The Last of Us basket and shows that they see the potential in it, and that's exciting.
You can get 3 or 4 seasons out of the first Last of Us, so
potentially. I think I'm more excited about like the original stories they decide to maybe tell than like the actual adaptations of what we've seen in the games, but I'm kind of excited for both. My second hype, obviously, goes to Dexter because, they dropped the trailer this past weekend. I was real nervous. I was so nervous on Sunday. You know that feeling of like waking up on Christmas morning like way too early and you're like, I can't get out of bed yet. Because it's like 5 a.m.
That's nervousness?
I mean, it's nervous anticipation. It's like it's like I want to get up and go open my Christmas presents, but it's like 5 a.m. and I can't go do that.
I thought you were nervous that it was going to be bad or something.
Well, I mean, I think there was a little bit of that. Part of me, I know the legacy of this series. I know how it ended. I know people it needs to prove itself again. I'm not blind to that. So I was a little nervous that maybe the trailer was going to underdeliver or whatnot, but I think that trailer fucking rocked, and it felt like the Dexter that I know and love from the original 4 seasons of the show, from the original writer. so much subtlety, so much nuance, so much cleverness, cheekiness to it. I fucking loved it. I've watched the trailer like 100 times already. That leads me to my sweat, which is the wait. It is now 102 days until that show airs. I'm gonna do a tweet every day about it to keep myself.
You've been doing a tweet every day about
I've
Dexter
been doing
anyways.
a tweet every day. No one knows what's up. Tweet every day.
Mhm.
And I'm
Gonna need to turn on that mute button.
You go for it. You can mute me all you want. I don't care. I'm doing it for me. But I'm also probably going to squeeze in another viewing of that show before it comes up.
That's
another. Didn't you just watch it?
We're still watching. We have 5 episodes left.
Jesus Christ.
Robin's really slow when it comes to watch. So I've been kind of having to slow my pace down to kind of keep up with.
She's what we call a normie.
Yeah, she's a normal person. I'm not. So whatever. I'm just I don't know. If you were a fan of the show and you kind of lost faith in it or whatever, and you're not sure what to think about this new season, go watch the new trailer because it's kind of incredible. And I'm fucking excited. Kind of fucking excited if you can't tell. But anyways, that's our show, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for asking questions.
Quick 90-minute show.
Shut up, Brad. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. 4playernetwork.com is, of course, the website. You can find us here every Thursday night when we record. You can hang out with us in Discord every day at discord.gg/4player. That's the place to be. Come hang out, talk about video games and the like. But yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. Again, not sure if it's going to be next week. We'll let you know. If not, we'll see you in 2 weeks. But we'll be streaming here and there in between, so come hang out. But in the meantime, be safe, be good to each other, stay healthy, get vaccinated, all that good shit. And yeah, good night.
Bye.